for myself, trying to prove my existence. I wouldn't listen to nobody else. But then time caught up with my plans. And when the day broke, it exposed me for the fool that I really am. But you said, let me lead you, let me take you by the hand, yeah. So I can feed you from a good and precious land. All my eyes have seen, you're all I need, you're all I need, yeah. So now I'm learning to walk in your steps, and through the valley of confusion I've been losing my apprehension with death. But you say, let me lead you, let me take you by the hand, so I can feed you from a good and precious land. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for your love. And all my eyes have seen the wonders of your mystery received. I've tasted what it means. Now nothing else is good enough for me. You're all I need, you're all I need, you're all I need, you're all I need. Oh, I need you. Yeah, I need you. Oh, I need you now. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I need you in my life.
What's up, everybody? We are live. Happy New Year, everyone. We are grateful to be here. 2025, our first podcast of the new year. And shout out to everybody who's been with us all these years as we've been doing this live stream like we do every Tuesday night. It's a lot going on in the world. We're going to talk about it today, of course. You know, this is the Young Lion TV podcast, so we got to get into the topics that matter. You know, there's 2025 started with a bang, literally. You know, we got the truck thing that happened in New Orleans, and then the Cybertruck thing that happened in Las Vegas, and then the planes crashing into people in California. Craziness going on, and I think it had a lot to do with all of the positive things that are happening on the other side of things. There's got to be some negativity to try to lash out, but we're going to get into it. Yeah, we're here. Make sure you guys hit that like button, share the video. You are watching Young Lion TV.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying.
Yes, sir. That's right. Young Lion TV, like we do it every Tuesday. We go live, and we do it live every Tuesday. We took a couple weeks off because it was New Year's, So, but we're back. We're excited to talk to everybody. Shout out to all the people that are in the chat already. Make sure you guys share the video with your friends. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're on YouTube and Rumble. Shout out to the people on Rumble. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. And if you're on X watching and Twitch, we love you guys. Share the video with your friends. But this is the Young Lion TV podcast where we get together, a group of brothers and friends and fathers and sons and husbands that have seen a lot of things in life. And we've known each other a long time. We've seen each other grow and evolve as men. And we've had tough conversations for many, many years now. And kind of learned a lot along the way throughout our life path and life journey. So we like to get on here and have those conversations with each other in front of all of you, talk about the topics that we think are important, things that may have spoken to us that we see throughout the week, whether it deals with culture, politics, family, relationships, celebrity, Hollywood, all those things. We touch everything, conspiracies, even really deep topics, because it's all framed around our belief in Jesus Christ and how we know that has kind of framed our path in the right direction. So if that's something that you want to get behind, make sure you head on over to our Patreon and support what we do. It's patreon.com/youngliontv, where as little as $3 a month, you can become a member and support what we do and become a part of the pride and support the pride of the Young Lions. And also, we have a merch on our shop at our band's website. It's chatan.com/shop. Where you can go get the hats and the T-shirts and all the good stuff that we have there and support what we do that way. That's right. Grateful, man. If you're grateful, let the world know you're grateful. You can change someone's day just by wearing that shirt. But yeah, we appreciate everybody. We are thankful. Shout out to Jake, just got here in the building, running late. He's the late one today, James. You better let him know. You was early today. But yeah, no, we are thankful to be here for another year. I can't believe it's 2025. One of the main things I want to definitely shout out is the fact that our band, Chatan, we have a show coming up. Our album release show. We're releasing an album. First time we've released an album in over 10 years. And we're releasing an album. Where's your mic at? You should have. Where's your mic? You don't even have his mic. He talking without.
It's been a couple weeks.
He's rusty already.
10 years though.
Yeah, over 10 years. It's been well over 10 years. We put out Love Changes Things in 2009. So we've been putting out singles and EPs in between. But this is our first full project that we are very excited about. And it's called The Art of Breaking Through Shadows. And it's got, it's a very intense piece of art that we're excited to release to the world. And if you come to the show, City Winery, it's going to be January 25th, Saturday night. With your ticket purchase, you will get a digital download of the show of the album for free. Wait for you to get in place. Yeah, so like I said, anyone who buys a ticket to the show for supporting us, you're going to get with your ticket purchase a digital download of the album along with the artwork and a bunch of behind the scenes footage and different little things about the project, making the project that will be awarded to you in a download file where you can access all of that and add it to all of your stuff. But we're also going to be doing a raffle, which I'm excited about, where we're going to be doing a little gift package. We're getting some vinyl printed up, and we want to give out some vinyl too. So we'll be doing a raffle there as well for people to be to win that, because that's exciting.
I want to win it.
You got to buy a raffle ticket. Buy a raffle ticket, bruh. You know how mad people would be if we do the raffle. The winner is 375 Moans on stage. I won. Like, rigged.
I've always wanted to believe.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be doing that, and we're going to be performing. It's going to be our release show. So we're going to be performing the album essentially live, having a party with everybody who's been supporting us forever, and performing some brand new songs that we haven't done yet. And we're excited, man. So January 25th, go to City Winery. Jake comes in and just gets right on to it. Hold on, let me see if I can find the show so we could pull it up. Because I want everybody to go.
There it is.
There we go. So if you go to City Winery, if you go to citywinery.com/Philadelphia, and then you go to events, and if you see the link, you can see the link in the browser right there if you want the full link. And we'll be posting up links on all of the social media platforms, but you can get your tickets to the event now. I know the entire front section is pretty much almost sold out now. So if you want to get your tickets, make sure you get them. So
it's always how it works.
I know. I know that always gets sold out.
Did you get a front, or did you get a side?
I don't know. John said he got it.
Did you get up against the wall?
No, he said he got it so he can do the camera thing or the ticket, around there.
Yeah.
Technically, the front seats aren't the best.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Yeah, don't
The middle.
the very, very front seats are not the best.
Yeah.
It's too close to the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so doors open at 6. Show starts at 7:30, and that is Saturday, January 25th. Again, City Winery in Philadelphia will be in the loft doing our album release show, The Art of Breaking Through Shadows. We're excited about it. We're giving away vinyl. We're going to be doing some giveaways, some raffles, and we are also giving away a digital download of the album to everyone who buys a ticket to the show. So get your tickets now, and you'll get your album when you get there, and we're excited for that one. So
Are you performing new songs or?
we're going to be doing some new songs,
Okay.
and
Okay.
you know, the show that we normally do. We're doing some new songs, but we had a request. I saw somebody wrote us, said they bought tickets, and they said they wanted to hear "Take Me Home."
Take me home. Oh, okay.
Take Me Home and Who Am I? They said that they miss us doing those songs, and
Let's
they jam
do it.
to them all the time. So that would be fun. That would be fun to pull out some some old classics that we haven't done in forever. Jake always has that look on his face like he never wants to do old songs.
No.
Take me
I
home's a
like
good
some
one.
Old songs.
He just
It's always a good show. You
Take
guys
Me
mix-
Home's not a good one.
You guys mix it
I
up.
mean,
he
it's
doesn't
okay.
like doing ghost up.
What's
ghost
wrong
stuff.
with Take Me Home?
I don't know. I just don't like it that much. It's
Why?
all right. It's all right.
Why?
I don't know. It's, you know,
I don't know. No, I don't know.
it's just not one of my
Favorites.
favorites, yes, from us.
Okay. Hey, that song is hey, the video's got mad views on YouTube. People like that song.
Yeah.
But anyway, 2025, we're here. Got the brothers in the building. So let me do the intros. We got, of course, next to me is the coolest Asian. He's definitely the coolest Asian in the podcast world.
How cool is he? Even when it's winter, he still wears capris.
No, those are sweatpants.
He pulled them
These
down.
are joggers, man.
Yeah, those are joggers, man. Come on. They're just
Capris would
they're
be-
just a little young, you know.
Be like, William.
But he is the coolest Asian, Mr.
That he is,
Simone
that he
Chang in the building.
What's up? What's up?
Cooler than a polar bear's tongue.
And then we have on the other chair the man who was on time today. He was early. He was the first one here
Just to
today.
beat Jake.
I
I
was
was
the
like,
first
I got to
one
beat
here.
him.
No, I'm talking about the panelists here, Mom. I'm talking about all
She
the
wants the credit.
panelists.
Give her a credit.
You're always the first one here.
Yes.
She was here at
I'm talking
4:30.
about out of everyone else.
That's right.
She needed that.
Yeah. James was the first one here today. He is
right.
the half black, half Indian.
And that's it. That was my New Year's resolution. I got to make it here. On the first podcast, that is it.
And that's all. Next week, half hour late.
I'm going to phone it in. James is calling in. He's in bed.
Yeah. But he's the half black, half Indian with the Spanish last name, Mr. James
Right.
Garcia in the building.
Confusing to no one.
Yeah. And of course, he's the big brother. He's everybody's big brother, the preacher, the teacher, people reacher, Mr. Jacob Eugene Evans III.
And I also wanted to make it here. That's why I'm here, because it's been crazy.
Yeah, I heard. Mom told me about the craziness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Lucas.
Yeah. But and I am the navigator of this podcast ship that we are on tonight, trying to bring up these clips and make everything run smoothly, hopefully. But I am also every single light-skinned guy with a beard that you think you know or may be in your family. James Evans. Guy at the gym. I'm going to ask you about this, Mom, because the guy that checks me in at the gym every morning, he always makes a comment. So older black guy, of course. You know, it's always an older black guy at the gym, right? And he always want to talk, right? He always want to like say something. So he caught me by myself and he was like, "Hey, James, man." He's like, "You ever ask your parents why they gave you that name?" Like, because, you know, older black guy, he thinks James Evans.
Yeah.
What's he thinking about? Good times. You know what I mean? And I said, well, it wasn't about that. They named me after my uncle. You know, and he was, "Oh, okay. I was wondering."
Great uncle.
Yeah, great uncle.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mom, I never did ask you, like, did you ever think about the repercussions of naming me James Evans?
Never thought of it. Just
Never
thought
thought.
about your uncle, and I loved him. And
Oh, okay.
named him
Oh,
after
that's why
My
his
mom
James
ain't
comes from?
watch Good Times.
I watched it here and there, but not always.
Yeah. So,
Times.
matter of fact, he just passed away a few months ago, right?
Wow.
Who's that? Oh, John Amos.
John Amos, yeah.
Yeah.
He was James Evans Sr.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
That's right.
But, of course, let me not forget the one who named me. And she's also the best producer in the podcast world.
Not after Good Times.
Not after
Not
Good
after Good
Times.
Times. After
Damn.
My favorite uncle.
Good times.
She is Miss Angelique Lopez.
Yeah. How you
So it's 2025, everybody. How's everybody
2025.
feeling about the start of this year? James, you just had a birthday.
doing? Yes, sir.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy
man.
birthday.
Yeah.
To ya.
44.
Yeah, man.
Foul.
Double
I feel like
foes.
I was gonna say this. You know, I mean, I had a great birthday, but for
Yeah.
a long time, I feel like I was born January 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that sucks about being born in early January is like
People are all partied out,
everybody's
man.
partied out.
People are
Never
partied-
in my life has anybody said, "Hey, man, it's going down." When? January 3rd. It's gonna be a big party.
You know what's funny is they did offer us that date for the city winery. We were like, no one's gonna want to go out
It's
that
James'
day.
birthday.
Yeah.
No. Is it because you guys love him? No. It's a terrible day.
No one wants to go out on that day. It's the worst day ever.
It really is because it's like Christmas is over,
Yeah.
right?
New Year's is over.
New Year's is over.
There's been all that partying,
It's all that
gifts
party.
giving, drinking. Like, yeah.
You know, luckily, because I didn't grow up in my culture and in my home, you know, not just the way it was. Birthdays and stuff, it wasn't really that important, you know.
Yeah.
It's not really that. You know, you've been around my family a long time, so you know.
absolutely.
But we love each other immensely. It's just that that's not.
You don't make a big deal
That's
out
not
of
a
it.
big deal.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up with that. But my wife is American, and I would give her credit. Hopefully she's watching, so I give her credit. She has made all my birthdays worth it. Because I've said that so long.
You're right.
That January 3rd sucks. She's like determined.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it special.
She's gonna make it special. But the trade off is you got to return that favor.
Oh, listen. What? I better start working on it now.
Oh, man.
January 4th is when I begin. I start planning. And I do it on purpose. I go downstairs as soon as she sees me, like, oh, Shaniqua's birthday planning. January.
My brother's birthday is January 1st.
Oh,
Henry.
wow.
So he's a Jehovah's Witness. They don't celebrate birthdays. So
Oh,
I sent
good.
him a message, happy day. He accepts that.
Right,
Happy
right.
day.
That, and
Yeah.
that,
Do they
that was the
celebrate New Year's?
that was the founder's way of like, so I gotta buy everybody's gifts. No birthdays. So
We don't believe in birthdays anymore. I got too many wives.
Mordecai. We've got 2 million followers. Oh, great.
I heard somebody. Actually, I was watching this debate, and it was a Hebrew Israelite. He was trying to break that down.
Birthdays?
Yeah, he was like, you see, the problem is birthdays are, on what day are you giving gifts to yourself? So you worshiping yourself. Because every other God, you got to give gifts to that God. So now you want to be acknowledged on that day, your birthday. So now you're giving gifts to yourself.
Right.
But you're not
You're
giving
not
gifts
giving the
to
gifts.
yourself.
Well, they're giving gifts to you.
And what would be great about that is if you cut and he's in like a restaurant with the hat, he's like, he's celebrating his birthday. He wants a gift.
Yeah, but it's always like, yeah, okay, you can make anything make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got nothing better to do.
Turn anything legalistic.
right.
Shout out to Papa Jeff, said Happy New Year. Shout out to all of our Patreon members
Yeah.
who be watching. We appreciate you guys.
He didn't say Happy New Year's.
He said Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's,
Yeah.
guys.
That's what he said. Happy New Year's, guys. He was telling us he took the boat out
Yeah.
Nice.
and it wasn't the most pleasant.
I didn't hear about that. I didn't get to talk to him about the.
Okay.
But the first time that he took it out, I was actually there the weekend after Christmas.
That was the christening of the boat, right? Did you guys break the champagne and everything?
No.
You didn't do all that?
Come
Isn't that what they do when you
Yeah.
christen a boat? Like you break the bottle of champagne on the. That's what I see on
We
TV.
didn't have no champagne. But that was pretty cool. Like we took it out pretty smoothly, and backing up was a little bit, it was miscommunication with the crew a little
Yeah.
bit, but he did a good job.
Yeah.
Parking it.
He's learning the ropes of like maneuvering the boat and everything.
Yeah,
Nice.
he did a real good job.
Okay.
Is that even what they say? Parking the boat,
I don't know.
docking
Docking.
the boat.
Docking.
You gotta get your boat lingo.
I gotta get my.
You got to get
It's a
your
whole nother language.
fanciness. Your fancy level has got to increase, brother. You too ghetto to be on boats.
Park that boat.
You gonna park it right there? Yeah, but shout out to Papa Jeff. Where we are very appreciative of you and happy for you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Enjoy that boat, man.
Enjoy it.
Big boat.
Nice.
Big boat.
Big boat.
I didn't know he was into boating.
He is now.
In other news, it is official. Pull this up. Today I found out our TikTok account got banned
For
for they don't give you a reason, man. TikTok is so weird, bro. Like
dang.
they don't give you a reason. It just says violating, community guidelines. And then you look up what the violations of community guidelines are, and it's like violence, nudity, like all things that we don't post at all.
Yeah.
So yeah,
China.
Our TikTok got banned. So
If you believe this was a mistake, you can submit an appeal.
oh, don't you think I did click on that? But you guarantee you they're not gonna approve that appeal.
Yep.
So our
That's
our
like
5,000 followers over there are gone.
They do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
that's how they did me on Facebook, my old Facebook page. They didn't even respond to my appeal.
Yep, that's what they do. But so a lot happened. Again, we were talking about how, right on January 1st, there was a lot of these planned attacks. We had the New Orleans thing that happened, which was a tragedy. I mean, horrific. And then the Las Vegas Cybertruck thing outside of Trump Tower, which is a very strange story, and the case just keeps getting weirder as we get more information.
Fireproof passports.
Yeah, apparently.
Yes.
The people, isn't it a theme of these attacks where the people are burnt beyond recognition?
Right.
To a
I'm going
crisp?
to kill myself. What should I take?
Let me
me
bring
grab
my
my
passport
passport.
and my military ID.
Let me grab everything right there.
Yeah, so make sure they know exactly who I am.
And it doesn't burn up.
And
wanna
that's the
leave
only
no
thing that
mysteries.
doesn't burn up. Yeah.
Right. cut it out.
Yeah.
The New Orleans ones was horrific because I went on X and unknowingly somebody uploaded.
Yeah, people had footage.
People uploaded the footage, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Whoa!"
It was rough.
I mean, I was like, because X is unfiltered,
Yeah.
right? So people posted the clip, and it was they pieced it together. So you see the truck coming down, and then because the footage essentially was captured by all of the cameras.
Yeah.
And that was rough, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
What's the total? 15?
15.
Yeah. And even that story, like getting to the bottom of everything is weird. It's always like these strange narratives that we don't understand. But, I feel like we were just talking about, and I was talking about this when I did that stream on Christmas Eve, just how it felt like culture is starting to shift and all of the evil that had a complete grasp on America and society, even the world, was starting to lose its grip. Like just slightly lose its grip a little bit. I felt a little bit of a loosening of that grip. And it's almost like, January 1st, it was like,
Let's start off with
gotta
bang.
lash out, to try to, it's like a last ditch effort to get that
Right.
grip back.
Right.
But simultaneously other things were happening to counter that on the good side as well. I was talking about getting banned on TikTok. Let me see if I can find did you guys see the announcement by Meta?
Yes. Zuck.
Yeah.
He's been training MMA, man. Dana White got to him.
It's weird, right? It's almost like Trump wins and these people are like, uh-oh.
Right.
We need to, and you're right, because didn't he add Dana White to the board of what was it? Zuckerberg says moderators are too politically biased. He pledges a system similar to X. He added Dana White to like the censorship board or something like that.
Right. I mean, I think it's twofold.
Yeah.
What you just said. I think it could be they're gauging the temperature of the room, and they're realizing that they've made a boo boo. It's also to him. Well, three. Him when he went on Joe Rogan, when Joe started pressing him about censored
The FBI.
the FBI.
Yeah.
He tried his best, but he really didn't explain anything.
Yeah.
And in fact, it made him look worse. It made
Yeah.
him look like he's just a weaseling kind of like he'll do whatever. Anybody that yells at him that has power, he'll do it.
Right.
Then the third part, which is not as likely, but I think it does play a part into this, is for me, I noticed that he's been hanging around Max Holloway.
Yeah.
He's been kind of hanging around the UFC a little bit. These guys, these are simple guys. And one thing that Dana White does allow as a sports franchise is he allows his fighters to speak freely.
Right.
Whether it's pro or negative, whatever. He lets them speak.
Yeah.
And I think because he has allowed that to happen and he doesn't censor them with language, I think Zuckerberg hanging out with these guys have
Rubbed
formed-
off him in a
I think,
little bit.
Yeah, where he's from his appearance before, because he's got in shape, he's doing jujitsu. I think he sees that essentially these kind of people are who he's silencing,
Yeah.
and these guys are alphas. They're not going to have him around them and it not rub off on him that he realizes that he's not the man they are.
Right.
And for at least in the physical
remember
sense.
those articles like 2-3 years ago where they were saying exercise is the gateway to the alt-right?
Yep.
Things like that. And I think there is some truth to that, because it's like once you start caring about your health and your body and you start physically doing things, like when you look at most of the men that are extreme leftist feminists, like these like staunch liberals, they're very beta, they're very like they're not what you would consider manly men. And I think Zuckerberg was in that group for a long time. Like people were calling him a lizard. People were calling him a robot, like when he did that deposition in front of Congress and he was drinking the water all weird, So I think once you do get in a circle where it's like your manhood is checked when you got to do jujitsu against other people, and it changes something.
Right.
Even just the testosterone now
Yeah.
flowing through your body is going to change
Yeah.
the way you think.
That's a big thing, the hormones
Yeah.
naturally. And I think one of the things I noticed when he was with them, they didn't alter anything for him.
right.
They said, come train, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't
No one's
make-
going to make it easy on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, they went after
They
him
don't care
right
how
away.
much money you got.
Right.
Your billions can't save you in this ring, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a couple of things happened. Number one, of course, like the climate has changed.
Right.
Being exposed, and then, like I said, being around those kind of guys.
And it could also be that he is just a smart guy who
Could be.
is playing his cards the way he needs
Yeah.
to play them because
He was told. So
yeah,
go along with this.
Right. He was told when the leftists were in control, he was told, to go along to get along, and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now maybe he's making that shift the other way so he can still have a platform, But Mom, yeah, you could pull this back up. I just wanted to show.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to show when his little speech about it. But yeah, definitely a different guy. Like he's sitting there with the new
He looks fuller.
haircut.
Yeah, he looks
He
fuller.
looks more
Yeah.
in shape. He's got the gold chain now.
Like Carrot Top's little brother.
Yeah, he's not like the.
He does.
Remember the guy with the gray hoodie that just was robotic? Let's watch this. Oh, let me
I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X.
Sounds like you're taking some notes from Elon there, because those fact checkers were terrible. The things that they've been doing, like we know. I mean, for one, I hope that this is real because our biggest platforms for this podcast are Facebook and Instagram. So those are both meta platforms and we get censored. So I know that we could do a lot better if we weren't being censored and shadow banned. And some of our videos have been taken down for community guidelines or misinformation, things like that. So, but yeah, sounds like he's taking a little play out of Elon Musk's book there.
Starting
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and they realize it's not working, man.
Yeah.
Like
Their platform's dying.
the platforms, people,
The advertisers don't even want to mess with it anymore.
right?
Because it's like, why? Why would we put? I mean, didn't they ban any political advertising on there? Like, so
For the right, but you know,
no, completely. Like, in order to keep the right from advertising, I think they just said no political advertising, and political content was being suppressed.
right.
It wasn't being suggested, which is a lot of the videos that we have.
But what 8 years ago weren't they like heavily promoting politics?
Yeah.
Right. So you did it, and now all of a sudden,
After Trump won, it was they everyone you saw. Remember, Google had that meeting behind closed doors where
Right.
people were crying and they were like, "We can never let this happen again." Failure, by the way, because he is going to be the president. But yeah, they definitely were fine with promoting political content back then when it was Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and,
Right.
But once Trump won, and he was better at using it than they were.
right.
Then they said, okay, we need to stop this. Because the meme wars, like all that stuff was going super viral. So they wanted to stop that. They wanted to stop the Alex Joneses. They wanted to stop so many people, especially on Twitter, were being banned.
You think that's why Zuckerberg is doing it because of Trump's he's going to be president.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it's a collection of everything we said.
Yeah. But I definitely think Trump probably told him, like, listen,
Yeah, I think so.
you got to get this together or else, you're going to, because he pretty much admits, let me see if he goes into it in this video. Let me see. I want to find the spot where he says something very kind of incriminating.
Started as a movement to be more inclusive, has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Wow.
As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship.
Boom, right there. That's the part. He kind of told on the Biden administration right there. He was saying that he's telling on them without saying it, that they have been pushing them to censor people, which is something that we know.
Yeah.
But you see him kind of letting the cat. But also,
Didn't he say that before though?
he's never said.
He kind of admitted on Joe Rogan.
He admitted
Yeah.
that admitted
on
that the
Rogan.
FBI came to him and told him about the Hunter Biden laptop thing, that there was gonna be something that comes out that was gonna be Chinese Russian misinformation. They didn't specifically say it was gonna be Hunter Biden's laptop. They kept it vague so that when that stuff started coming out, he just knew what to do. Yeah. But he never admitted this part.
Right. And that could be what he's telling Joe. We don't know if he's lying or not. But, I do agree.
So on Rogan, he admitted to suppressing
the Hunter Biden story.
Because he thought it was Russian or China misinformation, whatever it
because
was.
That's what the FBI told him it was going to be. Yeah. But here he's admitting that over the last 4 years, they've been pressuring him to censor Americans, period, or censor the platform, period.
And not only that, I mean, you see what the whole Texas move, like what you just said, everybody's moving to Texas because California has gone crazy.
Insane.
And it's because of diversity,
equity, and inclusion.
And people don't understand, like, when you push, it's so funny, like freedom, when you focus on freedom without the definition of freedom,
Yeah.
it gets perverted. So everything gets convoluted because you're focused on diversity, right? But then you're not. The loudest people are going to be the ones that feel they are misenfranchised or they're looked over.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are going to be the loudest a lot of times because they feel like they have a voice because and it's under the guise of love, which is another perversion, right? So you're always gonna look to these things. Okay, we need to be more inclusive. We need to be more diverse, and that just muddies the water, and it becomes a rule, a law, right? And then you realize, wait, this is why they did what they did back in the day with freedom of speech because you can't make those things laws. Yeah. Because the moment you make those things laws, now you're interfering with people's lives because somebody's going to be hurt by it. Yeah. You know, and this is always the issue. That's why it always has to stem back to the primary things. Like when you start calling a lot of these things rights that aren't rights, that's when we got problems. Yeah. You know, and this is what they're looking to. They're looking to what is a privilege, a right, and it's not the same thing. Yeah. And so then you see these things becoming rights in California, and it destroys California. Yeah. To the point where now you guys are all...
Everybody's leaving.
The main ones, right? Like Silicon Valley. They're so liberal out there. Yeah. They're so diversity. They're probably... out of all of the country, it's probably like that's the top. But then you see what's happening in San Francisco. You see what's happening in Oakland. Yeah, that whole Bay Area, right? It's being destroyed. Yeah. So this is you realize these things do not work. Yeah. Because, I mean, you can take it back to Marxism, right? Because you're always looking at the wrong thing and you make it the source. This is the problem. But then you realize that's not. No, this is the problem, and it's always going. So it's always you're making things a problem, and you're trying to solve it, but it's bad. You don't even know how to solve it. Yeah.
But dude, this is funny though because I just saw something on X about all these companies that are dropping the DEI, and this is pretty much the same thing. You know, McDonald's dropping that.
Part of it too is this, right? Like them trying to seem virtuous and trying to seem inclusive was built in a house of sand anyway. Right. Yeah. And it started to fall apart when you started watching them censor people who had an opposite opinion but weren't being aggressive, were just sharing different opinions. They would immediately censor them. I sent you a video. I don't know if you can play it, but if we get to it, it's where you watch these people who claim to be tolerant when the question is posed to them, as long as it's skewed in their favor, they're all for it. Yeah. The same question asked, if they're asked about something that they don't agree with, they immediately shut it down.
Well, let's play it. I saw this video. I couldn't find the original, so we're gonna play another person reacting to the video. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's the guy poses a very interesting question.
I think this is where those platforms like the Zuckerbergs and those people, they essentially initiated this type of thing because they have to promote that. Yeah. And they promote it. And it's basically, they're showing how easy this thing can be dismantled.
The funny thing is, though, Facebook was invented so you could rate girls at your college. Like, it's called Facebook because you were looking at people's faces to see who you wanted to talk to in college. Like that's what. So this whole idea that it was this virtuous, like we want to be inclusive, and like when he started that whole little speech, and he says like, when I originally started this platform, it was to ensure that people had a way to speak their thoughts. Like, bro, you were rating women.
No. Like, but wasn't the story that he stole it from?
He stole it from the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah, the twins.
Yeah. All right, but let's play this video.
Is so good.
So there was a dress designer that turned down Melania Trump to design her dress. She opted out. Do you think that she has the right to do that?
Yeah, why not?
Do you think it's okay for her to do that?
Yeah.
So if you were, let's say, a Muslim singer here in Madison, and a church approached you for an Easter service for you to sing, do you have the right to opt out of that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you have the right to opt out of doing whatever you want.
So let's say you're a Christian photographer here in Madison, and someone approached you to do a same-sex wedding. Would that be hateful or discriminatory to opt out of that?
Huh?
I don't know.
So your political views, your ideas, and kind of worldview is okay to say no to business, but your religious views aren't?
No.
This is what we call
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, these are college students.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are unintelligent.
No.
I think they have just been trained.
Right.
They have been trained.
It's programming.
Programming.
These are not fully thought out
Yes,
ideas.
They've been.
They've
You could
just
see
been programmed to
if you're
believe.
intelligent, if you're an intelligent person,
Yeah.
even an intelligent person who is arguing a point that's flawed, they at least have some rebuttal or
Yeah,
debates. Why?
right.
This is people who have been programmed.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
Once it's posed to them, they know, oh, that's the right answer. This
Yeah.
one, they're like,
Right.
what, help? They don't know what to do.
They run away.
They run away.
Well,
Yeah.
Again, it's what I was talking about. Like you're so focused on one thing that you miss everything else. So again, it's about care. It breaks down to care. Care, how do you care for people? But in order to care for people, you have to be responsible. In order to be responsible, you have to have the right response to things.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to be accountable for things, or you have to take account for things. You can't take account when you're focused on one thing.
Right.
You're not accounting for all the things, right? You're only focusing on this thing. That's why businesses go down, because they weren't accounting for things. You didn't know about this. You didn't know about that.
Like
I
all
went
the-
into
all-
it ignorantly.
Did you see all those businesses like in California and in Seattle or Portland that were like, we're gonna do a anti-discrimination tax, and men are gonna have to pay 70 cents more on the dollar than women to counteract the wage gap or whatever. All them places went out of business because it was
Dang.
Yeah, because they're not. You're so focused on something. Like you
it's
said,
not a
like,
smart business move. It's just dumb.
because they're focused on virtues
yeah,
that are not even real. Like they're not even based in reality.
right.
They're not. What are you basing that on? You know, I think a lot of us don't even realize how we view the world. You know, like when we say, oh, that's not right. Why would you do that? It's like it's not right based off of what? Because you grew up in a society that told you that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Where do you get that from?
Yep.
You know, most people aren't thinking about those things, but that's how we don't just come up and we're like, oh no, it's just not right. Yeah. How? Why? You know? And so I think, like, you know, it's funny. It's in the Bible. It's called the power of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Mom about this earlier. It's something that I was thinking about, because you know it says like don't cast pearls before swine, but what does it say about dogs? Don't put what's holy before dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because dogs are loyal to their masters, right? They're loyal to them. You know, pigs will eat you in a second.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a different relationship. The moment that pig sees weakness, you're dead. Like, there was just a story that came out with a guy.
Cats do that too.
Yeah, that's true.
They said most dogs would eat you.
Dogs?
That's what they
Actually,
said.
I did some research on that, and dogs won't eat you unless they're in a, like, dogs they love you and you're a good master. They won't eat you unless it's like they don't have any other options.
Yeah.
They're in a position where they have to eat something, right?
Cats will eat you in like a day.
Yeah.
But pigs will just, if they see weakness,
they don't
eat
care.
Yeah. Don't cast pearls before swine, but dogs are different. And the reason why it's about what's holy is because what's interesting is dogs are more about what's legalistic, right? So think about it. Owner can get a dog to attack you. Doesn't matter if is the dog looking at if you're good or bad? You know what I mean? Like, no. You've just been trained. The moment that master says attack, it's coming after you, right? That's what they do. And it's a program. You're trained, right? So a lot of people have been trained to attack. That's response, right?
Yeah.
So again,
that's modern education too.
Well, that's the whole point.
Higher
Like,
education.
it's training, right?
Yeah.
So we're being trained a lot of times, and then we're wondering why we have these crazy, you know, dang, why are you getting so upset? Because you've been trained.
Yeah.
To something in you says this is wrong. So to be a dog is like to be very legalistic. in a sense.
Which is the best way to dismantle this kind of thinking is what young men like them are doing, is going and asking, because those are simple, basic questions.
Yeah.
And to watch it, because you could see it's built on a house of sand. Like they fall apart so quickly. You know what I mean? They're like Billy Carson.
Create laws and rules in your own head.
Yeah.
What you abide by.
But once you see this with a lot of you see this with specific religion, Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you come to them with truth, a lot of times they've been so programmed that they'll just shimmy around it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, like, they'll come up with some, it's crazy sometimes, like, how they'll just flip it and won't want to see it, right? It's really bad. And this is what happens. It's not just, I'm not saying it's just Islam. This is just human nature.
Mm-hmm.
As we've been programmed by things in our lives, right? Think about it. Like if we grow up in a certain environment, we're going to be loyal to that, not even knowing, as we've been trained through whatever culture we grow up in, right? We're going to be loyal to these things. So then when somebody comes at us and we get upset because you don't do that, you know what I mean? It's like, why? Sometimes we overreact and we don't even realize, dang, why did I overreact like that? Because we've been programmed, we've been trained. And so you see, like, what that was showing is when you slowly work people through logic, they don't have that quick reaction because they realize that, oh, you know what I mean? They get that, oh.
Yeah.
But they don't want to say it because they're still loyal
right.
to what they're used to.
So they can't admit that their logic is flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim, we played it a while back with the liberal dude that was on Tim Pool.
Bless you.
About the abortion thing.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a great real time gotcha moment.
And I think sometimes too, we miss the point that sometimes what you're viewing is actually not for the person being interviewed, but it's for the people who are watching who refuse to participate so they can see. Because there's some people who are like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about race. They just don't want to do it. And I think maybe because they're afraid or they have themselves been programmed not to speak out on certain things, which we all admit now that we were told this either through teachers, our family, don't talk about these things. That's a wrong thing to say, because how are you going to figure out the world you're in and you're participating in if you can't if certain things are off limits? Now, as long as you're not going in there with a malicious intent, you should be able to ask these questions to learn. But I think the people who these kind of conversations would reach would be people who are watching, and because there's a lot of people who are fence sitters. They just I want to stay out of it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, I don't know, maybe if. But where I feel people like that realize that they're living in a dreamland is when they watch, because these are essentially these college kids are going to be the next executives, next leader,
next politicians. Yeah.
They're going to be setting the rules for DIs. They're going to be setting the rules for, well, it's Juneteenth and we all have to come in wearing this.
Yeah.
So when you watch the beginning stages of this programming and these people can't answer basic questions, and you're a fence sitter and you're watching, you have no other choice but to come to the conclusion these people have no clue what they're talking about.
Right.
So it's not meant to get in this grandiose argument and I'm right and tune in, because even that could be skewed in a certain way. But once it's a simple question, and they can't answer it, these are going to be the leaders.
Well, I think that's what's happened over the last 4 years that is the reason why there's been this huge shift in this mandate that Trump won in a landslide and the popular vote and all this, because people have been faced with a lot of those moments now where it's just like undeniably
you can't hide anymore.
Ludicrous behavior. And it's like those people that are in the middle that just want to get along, don't really want to get involved.
Yep.
They're still
and it's a lot of people like that.
They're seeing people behave in ways they're like, no, okay, this is too far.
It's too much.
When you look at what was going on with the border, when you're talking about these transing of kids and like all these things that people just are not cool with, watching men just smash women at sports, like
Yeah.
openly just
Right.
watching it.
There's a lot of people who just don't want to get involved, but
Yeah.
they have no choice now.
Right.
They have no
Whatever-
choice.
To my point, like I actually meant to make that when we were talking about the DEI companies, like McDonald's, Nissan, all of them. It's about that, like where it's too much.
Yeah.
And they're all about the bottom line. And even Target,
Yeah.
this past season,
They
you
all lost
see-
money. Bud Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bud Light, the
But-
same thing. Target, you see a masculine a commercial
Santa
with
Claus,
masculine
yes, yeah.
Santa Claus, family,
He's driving a truck. Yeah.
because they know that most
too far with
most
it.
people, they went way too far. Most people are just regular people. They don't
Right.
just sell good product.
But the thing is, just to his point,
Yeah.
what you're speaking to is what he is also speaking to, James, about the school system and the ignoring of these conversations and not and people being indoctrinated in college. Because when you look at Bud Light, when you look at Target, when you find out who are the people that were behind these campaigns, it's always these very woke, liberal, college educated
College
people
kids.
that just
Very
came out of,
headstrong.
they just got their PhD in marketing and social, and these are the ones that are being put in these positions to make these decisions. When you look at what Facebook has been for the last 4 years, I guarantee you, all these Silicon Valley companies, Google, all these,
Yeah. Twitter.
the people that are running these departments, when you look at how Twitter was,
Yeah,
Elon Musk
yeah.
had to eliminate all of these women that got these degrees at college that told them that they knew what they were talking about. When I watched Am I Racist with Lisi the other day, and it's funny because all of the people that are like running these, the one where it's like there's a dinner where these white women come and sit down with this Indian woman and this black woman, and they're just berated and told how racist they are and how white people are terrible for an hour, and they pay $5,000 each to be at this dinner, and both of these women have PhDs in like racial studies, and like this is who they put in place to tell everybody these ideas, So I think when you see like these young people in college, those are the ones that went through the whole thing, got indoctrinated fully, and now want to monetize what they've learned.
Yeah.
You have these young people here that are being exposed now, where it's like, okay, they're being shown early on. They're like, okay, maybe these ideas aren't that
Yeah. But again,
thought
like
through.
college is meant to challenge you in your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? It's to create critical thinkers. Right. But it's making people critical
Right.
in thinking. It's a different thing. Meaning they're cynical, right? They become they're hypercritical.
Right.
So it changes things. And again, like what you don't confront, you're gonna become a slave to. And a lot of times we have people who are pushing, like college will push you in a direction, but then you have people who are just settled in what they want. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to deal with that. No,
Yeah.
you do. You always have to. Like, it doesn't mean you have to go into those realms, right? It doesn't
Right.
mean we got to go into, I got to do this, I got to do that. No. It means you have to talk about these things that affect everybody. But in order to do that, you got to see why you got to be held accountable for it. You got to see why it matters, right? And that's what's hard for people. So we see in this election, now people are realizing, oh, no, I have to vote.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to be a part of this stuff. This,
Say something.
like, what'd you say?
I said you got to say something.
Yeah.
Speak up.
Like-
this idea of shutting your mouth.
Yeah.
Dude, there's no way. I know there's no way that Joe Biden got that many votes the first time around.
Yeah.
There's no way that Kamala Harris
Got
got,
the
this
votes.
many votes that she got
Right.
this time around.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
But, time will tell. We'll see. So, but on the other end, like, you can see why Trump gets the votes that he gets.
Yeah.
You can see why. Like,
I mean, it's obvious. You see the rallies.
You see the rallies. You see-
the support. It's
Yeah.
totally different.
It's not like you don't, the support wasn't there for Harris. The support really was not there for Biden.
Biden,
You
yeah.
saw it,
It
right?
was bought. Harris was bought.
But
Yeah.
but look at the response with January 6th.
which was yesterday, by the way.
Yeah. what we learn from that is anybody can fall victim to focusing too much on stuff. We have to take on the chin what happened in that election.
Yeah.
We let that stuff happen. And I'm talking, when I say we, I mean in terms of America.
Right.
We let that happen where they were able to finagle that election. Right. We let that happen. Like when they're talking about Joe Biden and everything, dude, that was happening, you know, how he's incoherent. That was going on 2020.
That was,
So we let all this happen as a
during the
country
primaries
and act like we didn't see any of that stuff, right? Because what has America been doing? Getting you focused on other things. Focusing you where you know where they know they're gonna get a reaction. And responsibility, I say this all the time. Responsibility is connected to what? The right response.
It's the ability to respond. That's what responsibility means.
Right. So it's you have to respond correctly. Right. And how do we know? And this is where the right and wrong thing comes in. Because it's never about what's right or wrong.
Right.
That's the problem. And that's where you were saying, like, people get caught up in that fight of like, what's right, what's wrong. That's where we get messed up.
Well, that's what January 6th was, right? They can lay. You can easily have a trap laid for you, which is what January 6th was. Let's be real.
Like, some conservatives fell into it,
right? And they use it to this day as
it was
like
happen.
Yesterday. Did you see all the news anchors just opining about how terrible, worst day in history of this country and blah blah blah? Like it was a trap set by the Democrat elites, Nancy Pelosi, all these people to try to have a reason, first of all, to impeach Trump. Second of all, to now try to indict him, and third, in all these different things. And he has a sentencing coming up on the 10th. You know, but
I wanted to add something.
Go ahead.
There's another aspect to. We talked about this before with the virtual signaling and the changing of. Or this idea of like, let's be all inclusive. What happened, aside from watching these college interviews kind of go left field and you realize they don't know what they're talking about, was this. All the virtual signaling, all the righteous, quote unquote, righteous behavior that we saw exhibited from companies, like Nissan, like BMW, Bud Light, all these other companies that were doing it here, that was sort of trying to cape and look, we're the catalyst for change. Those same companies that stood up waving this flag of virtuosity in other countries,
they wasn't doing it.
Right. So how virtuous are you? Right. And we wouldn't have with the benefit of hindsight to see, wait, you're so virtuous, but you wouldn't do that in the Middle East. You wouldn't do that at
you're not putting a pride
Qatar,
flag up.
Right, you wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you sell product there. Right? You wouldn't do that in Dubai. You certainly wouldn't go out waving that with that kind of a proclamation, because those people consume your product. Right? So you're virtuous here.
Right.
Where you know that you have a stronghold. But you're not. So you're a bully, really, is what you are. Right. You're
a coward.
You're a coward.
Yeah.
But
you're trying to capitulate to whatever you think
you're taking advantage.
The cultural norms are, which is what people are accusing Mark Zuckerberg of. By the way,
and I think this is the thing: they can't predict how the public. They can put it out, but they can't predict how the public's going to consume it.
Right.
It's just like when we look at COVID. Right. We look at COVID. Yes. Do I think this was a planned attack to see how people would receive things? But what they didn't account for was that people would be like, wait a minute. Yeah, you know what? I am obsessed over work. I'm working. I'd rather work at home. I'd rather grow my vegetables. I'd rather look into this whole seed oil thing, the plastics.
Yeah.
That wasn't pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden people are way more health conscious.
Yeah.
These are things they didn't account for. So what I'm saying is to people out there who are sometimes we people, especially believers, can sometimes feel downtrodden, like we're losing.
Yeah.
But I think, if you really pray and be diligent, sometimes all of these things will reveal itself.
All things work together for good, right?
Just about to say that.
Right? So it's like we see that the virtual signal was fake, right? All these big companies that did that, we see it's phony, right? We see after COVID, what? People refused to take the vaccines. People were demonized for that. You don't care.
Yeah.
Now those people are heroes. Right. Now we see, wait a minute. People start looking into, and then
the people that were heroes, the first responders, they all became they all became enemies after they didn't want to
Enemies.
take the vaccine.
But then it went further. Like I said, people are now. You started telling me about seed oils 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere, I'm seeing microplastics. I'm seeing people are way more conscious.
They're putting out studies about it now. I posted it on our page. Like they're doing, CNN is posting a health study that was done by the CDC saying that seed oils cause colon cancer. Like, why all of a sudden?
That's what I'm saying. That's the unintended result of them trying to control and they can't account for everything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So
You know.
things that are hidden, like Jesus said, they're gonna come to the light. They're gonna be exposed, but they're not exposed when you don't confront.
Yeah.
That's why you can't
Can't hide.
To wake up means to wake up has to do with you humbling yourself.
Right.
Right. You submitting yourself.
Yeah.
Like think about submission is almost like resting.
Right.
Right. So like people think submission is a bad word.
Yeah.
But submission is resting for the things that you are not even created to actually take on.
Yeah.
Right? So we're learning how to let go of what we took on prematurely. We're not able to take on. We're not able to be responsible for it. We're learning to let that go. And at the core of that is love. Right? There's no greater love that you lay down your life down for your friend. And we see how Christ did that for us.
Yeah.
And so again, it's never about being right or wrong, but we're always getting pulled. That's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Right? Think about that. Tree of the knowledge of good and evil is about what's right or wrong, judging in that way.
Right.
So that's our nature, right? That's our fallen nature. But what we're supposed to be doing is eating from the tree of life. That because that's how we judge, really.
Right.
Our judgment, righteousness, or the light that we see by is the light of life.
Right.
Right? And it comes through faith. So when we trust God, we let go of what we've been trying to do ourselves when we realize it's not working. And that's what we got to recognize. Like all these times, like we realize, oh, yeah, I messed that up. Like think about 2020. All these prophets prophesied Trump was going to be president. Well, they weren't exactly wrong. He became president and didn't become president then. We actually needed that time to expose a lot of the stuff that was happening.
Oh, it was actually better that we got those 4 years. I know it was a terrible 4 years, but for that's why we're seeing such the shift that we're seeing now. If he had got that back-to-back term, we wouldn't be seeing the shift that we're seeing.
So think about that. Look at the accountability of God to say, I know this is what you want, but I'm looking at and I'm taking account of everything.
Right.
See what I mean? Like, so that's where we have to trust God, right? And we're looking at it and we're like, I can't. No, we gotta work this out. But think about it, dude. When God created the heavens and the earth, he rested, meaning he was hovering. The Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the earth. He had to see his reflection. There had to be the reflection in the waters could not be crazy. He had to see himself in the reflection. So what I'm saying is that like when we rest in God and we want to produce life, we can't produce life out of chaos when we're in chaos. And we were meant to produce life, right? And that's how you judge. So everything in this world, what are we doing? We're learning how to cultivate life, right? Everything's a garden. A family's a garden, right? All these things are gardens. But think about a family. Anybody ever see Good Shepherd?
What's that?
It was Matt Damon. Beginning of the CIA.
I have seen that, but it's been so long.
You guys never saw that?
I've seen
I watched it. It's been a long time.
Like he went to Yale.
Yeah.
There was the cross and bones thing in there. He did the whole thing, right? But I remember there's this one part. Joe Pesci was in it, and he was like, of course, playing a mobster.
Yeah, of course.
And he was having a meeting with Matt Damon, and he was like, he said something. He was like, the blacks got music. He was like, we got family. What do you got?
Yeah.
And then he was like, we got the United States of America.
Right.
Like,
I remember.
You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So And I thought about this with the Italian thing, or even America. Like, think about this. Because we don't wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, right? Principal things, first things. So, but Jesus, he was the first of creation, right? In all things, principalities, right? Powers. They were all made for him, by him, through him. Okay. And so I'm saying this for a reason, because when you focus on family, look at how the most focus on family perverted family through Italians, through the mob, right?
Right.
I'm not through Italian. I'll say through the mob.
Don't put that on all of them.
Right. But what I'm saying is that you're
mad.
so focused on family that you pervert it, and it becomes crazy.
Right. Fast and Furious.
Chaos.
Become Vin Diesel.
It's about family.
It's true though,
Right.
right? It's not really. The funny thing is, you're like,
I am good.
what is not actually being produced here?
Right.
Life.
Yeah.
So how do we judge it?
Actually, death is being produced.
Exactly.
Right.
So how do we judge it? Life.
Yeah.
Right? There's no life there. It's actually death. America. You know, people get so caught up in proud to be an American.
Right.
Really? So you're so focused on being American, being patriotic, that you miss the point of America. Right?
Yeah.
You miss it because you put it first.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that God gave the idea of freedom and the idea of America to the founding fathers. So my point is, in order to know how the family works, you have to go to the one who it was created from, right? If you focus on family, it becomes the principality that rules over your life and perverts your family. But if you focus on God, he is actually the principal thing, the first thing.
The funny thing is, like, the mob always was so focused on family, but they would have to kill their family. They would their like wives were always divorcing them, cheating. They were cheating. Their kids were in shambles. Like, their family was always a mess.
Yep. And now look at how we perverted freedom. Because if we put a focus on, no, it's about freedom. Well, then freedom, I don't even want to go there. Like, in terms of principality wise, think in terms of a spirit.
Yeah.
Right. Without the creator of freedom,
freedom gets perverted.
Freedom gets perverted.
You can just leave it there. It gets perverted.
Right. Because you don't have the one who created it. You forget its purpose.
Yeah.
What did you say? All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So we lose the purpose, and therefore now people are saying, you're trying to put me back in bondage. I feel like I'm being, I don't know whose phone that is. I feel like I'm being pressured to do things. I feel like people. So freedom becomes something else, like rights that you think you need that are outside of the realm of freedom, which is what's happening, right? Diversity. We need to be free. I'm not free.
Yeah.
You think you're free? You're not free. I got to be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Right.
But then through that, you get put right back in bondage.
Yep.
So again, when we pervert things and we don't take account for things and we don't confront things in terms of seeking the truth, because if we seek the truth about what is freedom, then we get back to the root of what freedom is. Right? If we don't care about what freedom is, then it can be whatever we want it to be. And then everybody's just here. No, this is what it is. No, this is what it is. Oh, you're entitled to your opinion. Oh, okay. If that's what you think, okay. Until it starts affecting you, and now you're afraid. You want to do it? You do you. But then when it starts affecting you, and that's where we're at right now, all this stuff is affecting everybody.
Yeah.
So now we're like, people are like, wait a minute, we got to start doing something about
the
this.
border. Yeah. But speaking of, let's move on to the next topic. This is something that you sent me. Speaking of going too far and people trying to be free and doing whatever they want, you sent me this clip of people talking about comparing Canada and California.
Prove my point. Just one.
Go ahead.
It takes one. This is how ridiculous this is. Okay, ready? In 2016, Canada legalized medical assistance in dying. So
we
did
talked
California.
about that on here.
California has the same population as the entire country of Canada, okay? In that time frame, California has only mated, meaning assisted suicide, 893 people. How many do you think Canada has?
I'm going to assume it's ridiculously high.
Give me a number. Come on, play with me here.
12,652.
Over 50,000.
Whoa.
What? Smokes.
Canada is a predatory behavior. They're trying to include children down to the age of 12, mentally ill, homeless, and addicts, instead of giving them palliative care.
Yeah. Wow. And what did we say when we first read
chill.
the article about this assisted suicide thing? We said that. We said this is evil.
It's evil. You have to look at the root, but what they're trying to call good, evil. But then you see the effects, because where it is, if you don't have boundaries, things get out of hand. So where's your boundary on how who is supposed to die and who's not?
Right.
Like how do you weigh that? How do you judge that?
When you have a socialist healthcare system, the all that's going to lead to is trying to convince people that they're better off being dead.
Yeah. But again, like this is why we need God. This is why we need Jesus. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. What don't they have? Hope.
Yeah.
Because when you can't see hope, then it's okay. Yeah, I understand. I understand why you could do that. You got no hope for your life. So you're in that situation. Yeah, you need to die.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem with you giving up your life.
50,000
children.
Yeah.
That's what they're pushing
at the
for.
age
As
of
young as
12.
12. Yeah.
Wow.
They don't even have a brain to be able to discern and just flesh these things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what's the big deal if they can determine whether or not they're a male or a female? If they can determine whether or not to start blocking their puberty, they should be able to determine whether they want to live or die. Like that's where you end up.
How do we judge these things? Life, death, right? And that's what we're seeing. It's evil.
Choose life, right?
Yeah.
But on you talk about that little bit of hope in Canada. We're talking about Canada. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the Prime Minister, Mr. Justin Trudeau, he resigned. He's stepping down. Let's watch his little speech about that.
I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust nationwide.
I feel like he's speaking in front of no one because otherwise there would be cheers. Because I heard that people in Canada can't stand that guy. And, again, speaking about it, to me,
I know somebody who loves him.
Well, there's certain people that do. Delusional ones.
A Canadian that I know.
But there is tons of people that can't stand. I mean, this is why he's resigning. He's so vastly, he knows he's going to lose.
Yep.
And he's so unpopular. But it also has to do with someone who I feel like has been running the country since November 4th. Like this guy met with Trudeau and basically told him, like, we're going to turn you into the 51st state.
People are really entertaining. I've been seeing it all on X. They're entertaining it. They think it's a great idea.
They are. Let's watch this little clip of him talking about it.
Sir, real fast, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there. I love the Canadian people. They're great. But we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. They make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need anything they have. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, we don't really want to have a partner in the buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope, no right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function if we didn't take their 20% of our car market. They send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that. They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars, and we don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything, and we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question, but I can answer it. We're doing it because of habit, and we're doing it because we like our neighbors, and we've been good neighbors, but we can't do it forever, and it's a tremendous amount of money. And why should we have a $200 billion deficit and add on to that many, many other things that we give them in terms of subsidy? And I said, that's okay to have if you're a state. But if you're another country, we don't want to have it. We're not going to have it with European Union either.
So he's really talking about.
I mean,
he's making some valid points.
Very valid points.
He's making some valid points. So he said he was gonna. He told Trudeau, "You should be Governor Trudeau. You should be a state."
Governor.
We have a bigger military than them. We protect them more, and to me, it seems like Canada don't respect the U.S.
Yeah,
as much as the country has looked them out, quote unquote, looked them out.
Yeah. It's funny because he's been going on, like he was talking about Panama, how, why don't we have pretty much ownership of the canal because we sacrificed billions of dollars in people's lives to build it.
Yeah.
Protect it militarily.
I saw sorry to cut you off, but I saw something renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
Is that true? Did he really say that?
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
He's telling Mexico the same thing. He's saying, like, if you're going to constantly allow drugs to flow across our border, these are the moves that we're going to make. We're going to change the name to Gulf of America. It covers, we have more land around the Gulf than you do.
Yeah.
We have the bigger military. Like, it's the Gulf of America now. Like these are I think he's doing these moves strategically to show them, like, yo, we're done playing with y'all. Yeah. I think that's really what it is. And when you see the reactions that it's bringing about, it's actually effective. I mean, what?
I think the difference is that, again, it's life. Like, you see Trump actually cares in terms of this country wanting to see it thrive.
Yeah.
Right? But that's why he's doing the things that he's doing.
But we got to recognize that he's he's not doing astronomical genius stuff.
No.
You know, like that's what
It's
I'm just
common
wanna-
sense stuff.
This is basics. Like,
Yeah.
who can't say, why are we paying Canada
Right.
that much money? Like, who can't look at these things?
Yeah.
These are basic. How many times have we talked about, like, yo, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Why is America doing that? Like, think about all the money that is put into these weird
Studies.
all these things that they pass bills for.
Yeah.
They get passed, and we're like, wait, what? And these are basic things.
That's shrimp running on treadmills.
But
You didn't believe that. I had to pull it up. You didn't believe it.
But why are those things happening? Because this is all part of their game.
Yeah.
This is all how they don't care.
Yeah.
They're showing you. They don't care. They don't really care.
And they won't stop until, like what the president of El Salvador did, which is to investigate every governmental body
Right.
and every person in that position. That's they're not fearful of that. Like you said, giving billions of dollars and no investigative oversight. The only person I heard say that was Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Who said we needed a committee just to be able to audit this money.
Yeah, he's the one that brought up all of those weird.
Right.
He's the one that researched all that and then brought it to the American public. Like, this is what your taxes are
This
going
is what
to.
your taxes are going to, and I think because we don't have that, you know, we're so used to the idea here. We've been programmed for the last 40 to 50 years. The experts, trust the experts.
But not just that. We've also been programmed to be cynical about the government and know they're doing it and just be like, yeah, that's just what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, all of that is programming. All of that is.
My mom is not switching the camera.
Sorry.
I was like, what you guys?
I was thinking so much about this. It's like it just like bothers me.
All of it has been programming, and I think when people say social media is the devil, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think anything, because it's been we see the effects of it, and yes, it can be catastrophic for people who don't pay attention, even including parents. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a major push to change certain things. Like, Zuckerberg saying that, but that could be the calm before the storm. You know what I mean? I don't believe when I see these guys going along with this stuff, because what has happened is people have slowly seen that we've been programmed to believe these things. That when we watch these politicians, and the reason he won is his candor.
Yeah.
His almost Trump is not an eloquent man, but he speaks so simple.
And no politician would ever say what stuff he's saying.
No.
Like, talking about.
And it showed that America, we're not attracted to that no more.
Right.
We want plain talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're tired of the game. We're tired of being
game.
lied to. We want to.
Speaking of Trudeau, here's a country that positions itself as being all inclusive. We're
Yeah.
better. They always there's this aura of we're better than you and we're more progressive than you.
Yeah.
Then a few years ago, and this is, like I said, this is why I feel the change has happened with people seeing that this progressive, liberal kind of talking points is just talking points. Because speaking of Trudeau there in the clip you showed, what was he in? Blackface.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
many
saying?
times.
Yeah.
Many times.
Many
he was
times.
caught
It
in
was his
blackface.
go-to. So-
But there's a clip. Do you ever see that clip of him correcting a young girl who was asking him about something about helping mankind? And he goes, well, we say people kind.
Oh yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's like we have footage of you being a liar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have footage of you being disingenuous, because that's what that is.
Yeah.
You know, because he would never come. He would never volunteer and say, "Listen, guys, I have done this." They're always caught.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. It's always someone digs it up and then you got to apologize or explain it away.
Right.
But let's show one more clip of Trump making big moves before he's even inaugurated. I don't know if you guys saw all those people on TikTok talking about how Kamala's really not going to certify on January 6th. There's a plan in place, guys. She's really going to take the reins on January 6th. They
She
was
already
holding on.
left. She's interviewing for The View.
Right. But here's Trump again talking crazy.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
So he's talking about Greenland becoming another state. He wants the whole North American continent is going to be just a giant USA.
Did you hear about Puerto Rico and
the governor?
The governor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she read that letter that Trump wrote. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It just seems like.
But the media didn't play it though. Right?
Oh, did they? I don't know. I saw it on X. I don't know if the media played it or not.
I'm just saying, it just seems like there's a lot of optimism, or I would say hope.
Hope, yeah, absolutely.
That you could get from this. You could, because a lot of people don't want to see.
Yeah,
they want to.
He just wants to take over the world.
Yeah.
He's a dictator.
But again, you have to look at what is it producing. Because if you think about, like, even in Puerto Rico, like, people complain about them being a colony. Why don't they become a state? And that's always been this controversy over there.
Yeah.
But there's been conflicting things because they've been making money off of it, especially the people in power in Puerto Rico.
Right.
So there's always these underlying things that people aren't looking at because they keep focusing you on other things.
Yep.
And you just get used to this stuff and get comfortable with it and just complain.
Yep.
Right? And just become cynical over and over again. And we got to be able to look and see, no, there is hope.
Yeah.
That's what, like, in all these areas, because anybody can complain about what's not happening. Anybody can complain about, like, all the problems. But if you look at it, man, there's always going to be problems. There's always, Jesus said it, the poor is always going to be among us.
Yeah.
Right? We're always going to have that. But how can we do the best for people genuinely, right? And we need to raise those type of people up.
Yes.
That want to help this country, want to help people.
Right.
That's the difference. America has been, and I think it's even worse in Canada. It's funny because I remember this from even like when we were kids, and we worked at Showboat, right? And the people from Canada would come down.
Yeah.
And the way they would act, like they had more of the niceness thing down.
Right.
Like they were like a whole nother level of politeness.
That's what they say.
Right?
Canadians are very polite. Yeah.
Right.
Especially in Montreal.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of them would come from.
Yeah.
Right. They would come to the beach, which is weird. Like, why would they come to Atlantic City?
Atlantic City Beach.
Or like,
but Atlantic City was different back then. Now you can gamble anywhere now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
It was only Vegas and Atlantic City, and maybe if you went to the boats in like Mississippi, there was nowhere
Gambling
to gamble.
wasn't legal.
Yeah,
online either.
Yeah,
There was no online.
Now that's why Atlantic City is hurting because you can gamble anywhere.
But so many. My point of bringing that up is that, like, I remember that back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. Canada. Oh, they're so nice. They're polite. Right. And they're another level from America. And I've even heard this, like, did we play this on here about how, like, the Northeast they're kind, but they're not nice.
Yeah.
Right. And the West is nice, but they're not kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And being nice is the shadow of kindness.
Right.
Like, that's what, think about that. You don't really, a shadow, it's got some kind of a shape. It's got some kind of a form.
Right.
But you don't really know what it is.
Right.
But kindness is it's defining actually what love is. Right. Kindness defines love. Like, when people are kind, you're like, oh, you see what love is. And it's different. Like somebody's on the side of the road and, like, you can't be out here like they don't have their car all the way pulled out. What are you doing? Like somebody in what's it called? In Jersey. What what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't be out here on the side of the road, not pulled over all the way.
Yeah.
What the F is your problem? Like, they'll curse you out, but at the same time, they'll help you.
They'll help you.
know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my point is like, and to me, that's what Trump is a lot of times. You know what I
he's
mean?
a New Yorker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and people don't understand that aspect of like, you got to look past those things. And we've been so programmed, and we're coming out of it now.
Mhm.
A lot of people are starting to see, like, we're waking up to, oh, it's not about being nice. See, Obama knew all the nice things to say, but even Obama this time around, his spell wasn't working.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
didn't you just have a chef die in your pond in the back of your house?
Not only that, but social media is like we'll talk about it. It's social media allowed Americans to see how because Americans we're riding around like we're the champs all the time.
Yeah.
And social media expose how the world thinks of us.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And our politics and our politicians and our quote unquote rights and all that stuff like that. So just as much as it pushed a narrative here, the rest of the world, when like you guys put the video of the Chinese man during the what was that, a few years ago in Hong
China
Kong.
is an asshole. That guy.
Yeah. Like we would never see stuff like that. But then we would never see us being criticized politically either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that those things, when we start seeing how the world sees us, we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Man, we are like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think you're being confronted. It's like going around waving a finger at people's kids. Your kids are bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was
see
just
that
about
all
to
the
say that.
time.
I was just about to say, like, a family that is strong is a family that is critical.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They think critically of each other. Like they're gonna be like, yo, we shouldn't be doing this.
Mhm.
This is wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's a family because we love each other.
Yeah.
A family that is weak,
Chaotic. Yeah.
or chaotic is
Yeah.
a family that's like, oh, don't be in my business.
Yeah.
I'm doing me.
Right.
You don't need to be talking about me.
Right.
Oh, because you do this and you do
Yeah.
that. Oh, but you do, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
weak.
Yeah.
Now you're, why is everybody fighting? Because everybody's selfish. Everybody's everybody's about themselves. They're not really a family. On the outside, though, it's like, no, but we still get together. We all, you know, we do all the things that families do, but you're not really strong. Because all it takes is for somebody to say something to you the wrong way, put quotes around that, and now you're not talking for like a year, you know?
Yep. All right. So now on the other side of things, what has Joe Biden been up to in the last few days? Well, pull this up, Mom. He awarded George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom and gave it to his son, Alex.
George Soros escaped Nazi occupation to build a life of freedom for himself and countless others.
That's really the narrative they're going with.
Wait.
Let's play that again.
Whoa. Well, he told the story himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to get to.
George Soros escaped Nazi occupation to build a life of freedom for himself and countless others around the world.
By the way, look who else got a medal sitting down there on the chair. Hillary Clinton got a medal.
Wearing that red.
He settled in America as he became an investor and philanthropist, supporting key pillars of open societies, rights and
Open societies. Didn't we
What
look
does that
into
mean?
that before? Yeah.
freedom now and in the future. His inspiring generosity reminds us all of our capacity and our obligation to stand up to the abuse of power and to be guardians of democracy.
Yeah, right. Anyway, you always got to be wary of these people that are just love being philanthropists and donating all their billions of dollars. First of all, no one knows how much money this guy has. But let's just play a little clip from an old 60 Minutes interview of George Soros back in the 90s. We've played it before on here. Just so you guys can hear from his own mouth the story of his escaping occupation.
While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews.
These are pictures from 1944 of what happened to George Soros' friends.
Go to 1.5 speed. So George Soros was going around with someone who he deemed his godfather. George Soros is a Jew, and he was going around posing as a Christian, confiscating property from other Jews.
Hungarian Jew. who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat of evil. I mean, it was a very personal experience of evil.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
For example, that I'm Jewish, and here I am watching these people go. I could just as easily be there. I should be there. None of that.
Well, of course, I could be on the other side, or I could be the one from whom the thing is being taken away. But there was no sense that I shouldn't be there, because that was, well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets, that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow. In other words, whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator, the property was being taken away.
Where did we hear that before? Don't you hear that
I hear it so many times.
in the hood when they say somebody's going to deal them drugs?
So why don't I do it?
But this is a man. This is how he started. This is how he amassed his original wealth. Was
It's demonic, man. It's literally evil.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny?
What?
I watched a movie. I watched it a couple of times. But this guy reminds me so much of a character I saw in a movie called Inside Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Jewish banker.
Yep.
Who sold secrets to the Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to hide his past.
Right.
You know, from this man who was trying to expose him.
Yeah.
You know.
This is the Spike Lee movie with
Spike Lee
Denzel,
movie,
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know.
He's not even hiding it. That's the crazy thing about Soros. He's not even hiding it. He did this whole interview on 60 Minutes.
But this is what I say. It's in plain sight.
Yeah.
You know, and because people's eyes are shut,
Mhm.
you can't see it.
And then you see the revision. Yeah, exactly. Then you see the revisionist history. He escaped Nazi occupation. Like he's some kind of hero.
It's funny because Denzel was given a medal too.
That's right. Denzel was given the medal, which is weird. Which is weird. But a lot of people were didn't know how to feel about that. You know. Yeah. So and then of course we got to have a Joe Biden moment. They were singing "Happy Birthday" to somebody. Did you guys see this clip?
Nope.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you.
to this kid.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
That's so much. Little
Asian dude.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, little Asian
He looks
dude.
Mexican to me. Yeah, I was like, man, we get one last Biden moment before he heads on off into the sunset. Man.
He's just happy that they pardoned Hunter.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, sure, good, right? All right, cool.
Man,
Come on up, Pedro.
We're gonna miss those what's new with Uncle Joe moments. But yeah, that was the last little thing.
I wonder how long Joe's gonna last.
So this is why people were upset about the Denzel thing, because James sent me this clip. I've seen it before, but this is all the people that got medals from Obama. Robert De Niro, Bill Gates, Ellen DeGeneres, Tom Hanks, who's that? Meryl Streep. Barbara Streisand. Who's that?
Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. Oprah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And who are the ones
Was
you
that Jon
always see
Stewart?
out talking all the trash? Was it Jon Stewart?
At the end.
Was it? I don't know. I didn't notice. Yeah, but thought that was interesting. So people saw Denzel getting brought into that mix, and were like, because look at that company there.
That looks weird if Denzel was in there.
Mm-hmm.
He just got, did you see he just got water baptized?
Did see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his daughter's gay.
Denzel's?
I did see that. He got water baptized. No, that was Robert De Niro.
Oh, it replayed?
Yeah, it was Robert De Niro.
Oh, tough guy De Niro. Look at
Yeah, yeah.
Fake tough guy.
Yeah, but he was water baptized and then made a minister immediately.
No, he was accepted into minister training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But even that does that normally happen if you're not a celebrity?
I don't know, dude. It depends.
Depends on how much
what
money you
church
got
it
and what
is.
church you go to.
Yeah,
Right,
it's the church.
There you
I
go.
think that's like he
Checks
that
in
was
the
Church
mail.
in Christ.
You go down on purpose.
Whatever.
Near miss.
So many denominations. Church in God and Christ, is that it?
Church in God and Christ.
Church of God and Christ.
Sounds right. Sounds like one of them. All right, so let's play this. You sent me this, Jake. Where is it? Get rid of this. Here we go.
And the king of Prussia said, we can't get conquered that easy anymore. We got to strengthen the state. He gets a philosopher named Hegel. He's a professor at the University of Berlin. And he comes up with something called Hegelian Dialectics. One of his students is Karl Marx. And so the dialectic is a triangle: thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And so Karl Marx says, okay, the thesis is the status quo. The antithesis or antithesis is a crisis. You sow discord. You send in agitators, agent provocateurs, and they sow discord. And then when the people feel insecure, they'll surrender their freedom for security to somebody promising to solve it. And there's a synthesis. But the synthesis is you've lost half of your freedom. And so this process, you start off with the status quo, you create a problem that's real bad, and everybody's happy to settle for your answer that's half as bad. And then that becomes the new starting point. You create another problem that's real bad, and everybody's happy to settle for your answer. Then you create another problem that's and after each crisis, the people give up a little more of their freedom and independence, right? So Napoleon conquers Europe, and
How many times have we seen that at work in that
Playbook
play?
has never changed.
The Hegelian Dialectic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sent me some, look like some old timey videos.
Yeah, 1987.
1987 of I guess they're two people discussing
Hegelian dialectic, and they talk a
Marxism.
little bit about Marxism.
because they're connected. Because Marx was Hegel's student, so a lot of the Marxist ideas come out of the Hegelian dialectic philosophy.
Yeah, but they break it down a little bit more. It's pretty interesting. Just so we can get an understanding of like where these things come from, because it's philosophy, right? It comes from a philosophy. Marxism isn't really a philosophy. It's more connected to like materialism.
Yeah.
And, because he was a materialist. So that's how he views things. But Hegel was more of a philosopher. So
Right.
he's coming from a philosophical point.
Okay. Let's see.
Hegel looked at all important concepts in this historical way, didn't he? He saw them as being embedded in human life, in ways of life, in societies, and as societies change.
Oh, you got these playing fast.
Yeah, that's one's first two are a little fast.
Okay, let's start it over.
Try
We're gonna
to
try to follow.
try to follow.
This is first of all, it's old timey video with British accents, and they're gonna be talking real fast.
Not all of them, but the first two.
Okay.
I did a little fast, and I didn't feel like going back.
Okay.
Hegel looked at all important concepts in this historical way, didn't he? He saw them as being embedded in human life, in ways of life, in societies, and as societies change, so the concepts change. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. He saw that there was development in the way history occurred, that it was always moving forward. It was always a process, never static.
And he had a name for the way in which it moved forward. He called this the dialectical process. Now, can you explain exactly what in Hegel's mind the dialectical process was?
Let's go back to the example I mentioned before. Greek society he saw as a harmony, but as a simple harmony. A simple harmony in the sense that people had not developed the alternative notion of individual conscience. There was harmony between the individual and society because individuals hadn't really thought about things themselves. Now, into that simple harmony, there came, in the person, in fact, of Socrates, whom Hegel considers a world historical figure, there came the idea of questioning this harmony. Socrates went around asking people, what is justice, what is virtue? And when they tried to answer, they realized that they'd accepted certain conventions, which Socrates had no trouble in showing could not be sustained. So the simple harmony of Greek society broke down, and because Socrates broke it down, incidentally, Hegel thinks that the Athenians were quite right to condemn Socrates to death. He was genuinely corrupting and subverting Athenian society. But that was an essential part of a historical process, because ultimately, and Hegel fills in the gaps, the steps, but ultimately that led to the rise of individual conscience, and a second necessary element, and the opposite of Greek society, society. So we've moved from what Hegel calls the thesis to the antithesis. The antithesis of Greek society is individual conscience risen to its height in Protestant Europe. But that too turns out to be unstable. It leads to the destruction of the French Revolution and the terror that followed the French Revolution. And so that too must give way to a synthesis, to a third stage, which combines harmony and individual conscience. And very often in this process, that then again serves as the new thesis from which a further antithesis will arise and the process will continue.
Now, this notion of dialectical change that you've just explained has been so influential ever since Hegel, and it's enormously influential today through Marxism, which embodies it, that I think we must get it completely clear in our minds. So let me just go over it again. The idea is, isn't it, that Hegel put forward that the reason why we human beings are involved in a process of perpetual change is that every complex situation contains within itself conflicting elements, which therefore destabilize the situation, and therefore the situation cannot go on indefinitely. It breaks down into something else within which those conflicts are dissolved or assuaged. But then, of course, in the new situation, you get new conflicts, and so it goes on indefinitely. So you get, as you put it just now, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, which becomes a new thesis using his terminology. And this, Hegelians and following them Marxists think, gives us the key to history, to understanding historical change, the dialectical process. Now, up to that point in the explanation, it would have been open to Hegel to say that the direction that this change took was purely accidental. It could be the random outcome of innumerable random conflicts. But he doesn't say that, does he? He actually thinks this linear process has a direction, has a goal.
That's right. And the goal for Hegel is the greater development of mind towards freedom. We are moving always towards consciousness of freedom, towards realizing human freedom and understanding freedom. And that is a process of increasing awareness of freedom and of increasing knowledge of ourselves.
Now, what is this change happening to? I mean, wherever we talk of change, in any context, whatever, there must be something identifiable that changes. Now, what is it that's changing? In other words, is he writing about whole societies? Is he writing about individuals? What is he writing about in this context?
The short answer is that he's writing neither about individuals nor about societies, but about what he calls Geist. Now, that German word Geist is a difficult one to translate. The easiest way, perhaps, would be to say that it happens to mind. Mind is one normal translation of the German word Geist. We mean, when we talk about mental illness, the German word Geisteskrankheit is mentally ill. So you could say it's happening to mind, to your mind and mine, or all our individual minds. But mind also has another meaning, which goes beyond that. The notion of spirit. We talk about the Zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. Or we talk about Geist when Germans talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The word Ghost.
Heilige Geist.
Heilige Geist, exactly.
Yes.
So it also has, therefore, a somewhat spiritual or religious flavour, which suggests that in some sense there's a reality above and beyond your and my individual mind. And so you could say it's happening to mind, but mind with a capital M, not just mind in the sense of individual human minds.
So is Hegel saying then that total reality is something mental or spiritual, or this word Geist may be poised between the mental and the spiritual, and that all the processes that we're talking about are processes ultimately of this ultimate mental or spiritual thing?
Yes, that's the ultimate view that Hegel comes down to, that reality is Geist, it's ultimately mental or intellectual, and these processes happen to Geist, to mind, as it develops along the way.
But to some people,
it makes sense.
Yeah. So, but for me, even the conclusion they came to there is that that society and everything is mental. I think even the way they broke down Geist, it sounds like it's more everything is shaped spiritually. You know what I mean? Not mentally. It's shaped spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah, but it affects the mind. So
right.
That's why they were saying like the Geist, it's hard to really explain that, right?
Right.
And again, he's coming from a philosophical, he's not really coming, he's trying to explain things out of religion. Not,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
right. He doesn't want to go to religion because he's a philosopher.
Right. But you can't separate it from, like you said, it's spiritual. Right. That's why it was hard for him to separate those things. And we talked about this earlier, powers, principalities, might, dominion. Like, so if you think about this, even in Greek society, they talked about that. There were gods that they were subject to, right? And but then you had Socrates, Plato. You had these philosophers who were coming from a place of thinking through these things. Well, why are we subject? So you're seeing how it all plays out, right? And they just accepted these things, but where do they accept them from? And you see this how it plays out here, like where you have the idea of freedom. Where does that freedom come from? When you separate it from that, things become secular, right? Those things start to break down. So you always have that conflict. Yeah. And how do you deal with that conflict? You have to go back to the source, right? So it's always about the source. It's always about going back to the place, or else everything breaks down. Or you could say it corrupts. Yeah. Right? Everything's going to corrupt because there are always forces, good, evil, right? There are spiritual forces that if powers, principalities are selfish and they're separated from God, then they care about themselves. They want to stay in their own power. Right. Right? So that they can rule over us.
Yeah, which is for them to influence us, the minds of us. So it's like what they're speaking of is everything breaks down to these principalities want to be able to influence the minds of the masses of their territory or region,
right,
to get people to do their will, basically.
Right. And so that's why, like in 2 Corinthians, it says that we cast down every imagination, that we take it captive, right? So we can't just think about things and then imagine them in the way we want to imagine them or we desire, or because where is that coming from? That's why you always have to have, like, even like faith is the substance of things hoped for. Well, every time we think, we're starting to bring substance to it. We're starting to bring a form to it, a shape to it, right?
Yeah.
That's where creation comes from.
Mhm.
We start to think of, and imagine and then create these things, and then we bring them into action in the
Mhm.
world, right?
Yeah.
So this is where spirits are wanting to engage with us because they want to influence what we bring into action, what we kind of manifest, right?
Right.
In the world. But manifest, I don't say that in like a new age way,
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, I can say these things and they're just going to manifest. No, I say it in a way of like the things that we think we become.
Right.
The things that we think on, we do, and we
Mhm.
become. So what you think on is important. But if you don't know what to think on, you can think that everything you think
Mhm.
is just your thoughts,
Right.
and they're not.
Into the discussion. This might already begin to sound like a very bizarre idea. So I think it's worth pointing out that, in fact, we're all very familiar with something similar to this in the case of religious beliefs, even if we ourselves are not religious people. I mean, many religious believers, including many Christians, believe that all of reality is ultimately spiritual, and that all of reality ultimately has a spiritual or significance or meaning. And I suppose Hegel is saying something very closely related to that, is he? Though not necessarily religious in the conventional sense.
Yes, but the difference might be that the Orthodox Christian view, I think, holds that God is spiritual but separate from the world, and the world is mundane and material, although it has a spiritual significance, certainly, but it's separate from it. But for Hegel, there's a closer union between the two. You could present the opposite of the Christian view by saying that Hegel was a pantheist, that he believes that God is in the world and in everything. That's perhaps not quite true either, but it's somewhere between the traditional Christian conception and the pantheistic one, that reality is part of God, everything is a manifestation of God, if you want to call it that.
In fact, I mean, it would be true to say that ever since Hegel, there has been a dispute between Hegel scholars or philosophers about precisely this question relating to Hegel's philosophy. Is Hegel's philosophy ultimately religious or not? There are some who said that it is, there are some who maintain that it isn't. Which side of that debate do you come down on?
I think that it is immensely valuable to try and interpret Hegel as if he were not religious, because then you find that you can make good sense of a large part of Hegel's philosophy in a non-religious way, just interpreting him as talking about mind, and the common element in mind being our common ability to reason, the fact that our minds are structured in similar principles. But I think I have to admit that though you can push that a long way, you don't really make 100% sense of Hegel in that way. The last 10% perhaps has to assume that there is some religious or quasi-religious view of mind or spirit that lies behind what he's saying.
Now, we've talked about the view of reality as a historical process, which he introduced into Western thought. It's a major idea. And we've talked about this notion of dialectical change, which he introduced and which is a living idea to this day. Another important concept, which I think I'm right in saying he coined, certainly he made it famous, and which has come back again into what one might call intellectual fashion in recent decades, is the concept of alienation. Hegel had a great deal to say about alienation, didn't he? Now, what exactly did he mean by that term?
By alienation, Hegel meant the idea that something which is in fact us or part of us seems to us foreign, alien, and hostile. Let me give you an example. He presents a picture of what he calls the unhappy soul, which is an alienated form of religion. The unhappy soul is a person who prays to a God whom he regards as all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, and who sees himself, by contrast, as powerless, ignorant, and base. So this person is unhappy because he demeans himself and puts all those qualities into some being which he sees as separate from himself. Hegel says that this is wrong. We are, in fact, part of God, or if you like, we are projecting our qualities into God, and we should take that back. The way to overcome that kind of alienation would be to realise that we and God are one, and that we have those qualities. They are not something separate and foreign to us.
I was going to say, he would say specifically that these are human, and perhaps only human qualities, which we are projecting onto an all-powerful being, denying them to ourselves, when it is in fact we who have them. I mean, they originated with humanity.
The claim that they are only human was actually made by one of his later disciples, Ludwig Feuerbach. He wouldn't have said that, but he would have said that we and that kind of divine spirit are all part of the same reality, Geist or mind.
Now, you've explained very clearly, I think, how Hegel saw total reality as being a process of change which was moving forward in a certain way, the dialectical movement. What is it going towards? What is the goal? What's the end of this movement?
The end point of the dialectical process is mind coming to know itself as the ultimate reality, and thus as seeing everything that it took to be foreign and hostile to itself as in fact part of itself. And that for Hegel is simultaneously a state of absolute knowledge, when mind knows, recognises at last itself as the ultimate reality, and also a state of absolute freedom, when mind, instead of being controlled by external forces, is able to order the world in a rational way, because now it sees that the world is in fact itself, and it only has to implement its own principle of rationality onto the world to organise the world rationally. Now the interesting thing about this culminating process is that because it occurs once mind understands that it is the reality of everything, if you ask the question, when does this actually happen? Well, it happens when Hegel's own mind in his philosophical writings and thoughts, grasps the idea that mind is everything. And then he's achieved this. It's not just that Hegel describes the goal, the culmination of all this process, but Hegel's philosophy actually is the very culmination of the whole process he's describing.
Now,
does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but it's just a whole bunch of just philosophical.
It's
like
hard for me to follow, man. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I could tell. I could
Yeah,
tell because by looking at you. But the reason why I'm showing this is because you kind of have to follow it, because this is where a lot of this I'm trying to think of the right words. This is where a lot of these ideas,
Modern psychology, you mean?
Enlightenment ideas come from, right? From the early 1700s into the 1800s.
Yeah.
This is where these things have gone, right? Where they try
even
to,
like a lot of the secret society movements, a lot of their ideas,
right.
a lot of their concepts on like
They're all
why they
connected.
justify the things that they do to control people
It's all
through
mind control.
Yeah. It's because they follow these philosophies. And I just thought the idea of like when they were talking about we project our image of ourselves onto God instead of taking them onto ourselves. And I just kept looking at them and saying like, so is your God got that kind of hairline, bro? Because both of their hairlines.
but also like even the terms of how he was talking about pantheon and like the connection.
Yeah.
God is not, for him, God is not separate, but it's a part of you, which is how we are in terms of how we view the world. God is separate, right? God is holy, he's separate. And because we're in a fallen state, we are subject to these powers, principalities, right? We're subject to the devil. We're subject to it, meaning we're going to be influenced whether we know it or not. So in turn, we are a part of it. So they're saying it, but they don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're kind of trying to separate it, but not understanding. They don't even understand biblical theology in order to connect the two. Right? Where they would have, it would make more sense. But because you separate it, then it turns into eventually Marxism, right? Which takes it into a whole nother realm.
Right. It's I think it's harder to follow because they're speaking so fast.
It's fast and
it's very it's very wordy.
It's very and you gotta fight. This is where you got,
and they're trying to show how intelligent they
Yeah,
are.
they are.
Exactly.
They are.
So you gotta kind of look.
It's a lot of smart.
This reminds me of like Jordan Peterson and like Dennis Prager having a conversation.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to show off.
But again, because they've thought about these things and they've gone through these classes. They've gone through, they've studied these things.
They're PhDs.
So somebody who's not really thinking on these things, it's harder. You got to pay attention more. You got to focus more because the way they're talking is the way they're used to
That's
talking.
what I'm saying. Like the accent plus the sped upness plus the wordiness. Yeah.
But to look at like why they've come up with these things, why it's taken a hold, because it's taken a hold of a lot of society.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's why, like, we got to look past the annoyingness of how they're
But no,
talking.
it's definitely like we have to look at how these things got their tentacles into our life and into our societies. And I think these ideas were adopted by a lot of these elite families, a lot of these elite circles, when you were talking about Skull and Bones and all these things. And I think that they have decided that they want to implement these ideas into the world, but using nefarious means and tricking people into taking on these.
And even the elites, when you really study them, they weren't that intelligent.
Yeah.
What they did was they entrusted the way the society was going to be structured to the philosopher type. So these men who weren't essentially born into the bloodline would come about with the philosophy. These would be the sort of wizard types.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the arbiters of how we're going to structure society. I heard one guy say this. I don't remember his name, so it's not mine, it's his. But he said basically there've always been anomalies and there's always been quirks in human beings in terms of the way people handle societies. And he's like, one of the things people said, well, was there autism and was there people born with these sort of mental disorders back then? And people say, back then the food was different. He said, no. He said, there's always been, he's like, the decay of human beings in terms of their fall from grace has always been existence. But it's how they were used. So he explained it this way. He said, back then, let's say we discovered Mars right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's pushed that Elon is going and Bezos is going, they wouldn't be the ones to go.
Right.
Rich, powerful men wouldn't be the first to go. They would send in all the lunatics and crazy people who would risk their lives for a new opportunity. So he said, picture this world back in the age of antiquity. He's like, who would they send? They would send the people who, you want to change your life?
Yeah.
You want to explore? You want to be glorious? They would send those people. And he's like, these would be the men who would be on the fringes of society, usually uneducated, poor. They would roam the countryside finding these men who would find glory. He's like, so all these fairy tales were essentially things set up to program society. That was programming back then. That's what media is now.
Mhm.
So these young men that would be searching for glory, we're going to go conquer these people. We're going to do not all of it, but he's like, this is where you could manipulate a younger person.
You're saying like the people that had mental challenges back
Right.
then would be used as what, soldiers?
Not all of them, but I'm not saying the ones that are uncontrollable. I'm talking about the men who couldn't find glory and they needed something, and they were convinced that through this we could. And then you just played a clip where the guy said, "What we'll do is we'll set it up where there'll be chaos.
Right.
So we'll send in the most violent, wicked to destroy a society.
Right.
And then we tell them we can fix this.
Well, that's
and we'll sacrifice those guys.
Yeah, that's the thesis, antithesis,
synthesis.
Yeah.
That's the Hegelian dialectic
right.
model. Yeah.
But this guy was explaining from this how they use this. These old kingdoms would have these philosophers come in and teach them this.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about like even like the like the Industrial Revolution, like when you think you were talking about. Remember we were having this conversation at Arya's party, right?
Yeah.
And he was telling me about like how many people were dying
Yeah.
from like the buildings they were building, and you know,
the early-
talking about
yeah.
all that. And it like he's telling me all this, like what was going on, how many the kids that were in factories, like
Yeah.
you
It was
know, and
brutal.
how many
Yeah.
people died.
It was very
and
brutal.
lost limbs and thinking about that, like so it could have gone a whole different way. But because people wanted it the way they wanted it, the people at the heads of these things,
Right.
the way they were pushing it, they weren't taking into account life.
Mhm.
They didn't care about life,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, those are casualties.
Yeah.
So
of success.
it was selfishness. So again, like to push something forward, again, what is the thesis? We want our society to change in this way. We want to see our society get moved into this way, right? You have the antithesis, right? The antithesis is all the stuff that happens, right? That is in conflict with what they want, right? But then you have the synthesis. What's the synthesis in that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I was trying to put it together. I was in there with
Oswald
you.
Bates in
I was
there.
in there with
See,
you,
my
man.
brother. See what I'm saying? You take in consideration.
Right.
Because I forget what the synthesis
Because the way you're framing that is not so. The thesis is essentially the status quo. It's like it's just like the
Okay.
way where society lives.
That's where I'm
the
right. So the
antithesis
There
is
you
creating
go.
the
Right.
conflict
Right.
to push society forward.
So the thesis is about like, okay, this is where we are, right? So you think about the late and think this is Hegelian dialectic was like I think mid 1800s, right? So you
Probably
have,
been longer than that, but just been expanded on,
Yeah.
added to.
Right.
so you have well, I'm talking about Hegel. That was like
Yeah.
his time, and then you had the late 1800s. Whereas when this, especially in America, you had this industrial revolution push, right? So even that, it's like kind of around the same time.
Yeah.
So the
And you also
thesis-
had the psychological revolution with just thinking about that correlation with Sigmund Freud and that whole movement that pushed psychology.
Jack Parsons.
Yeah, Jack Parsons was
That was later
that was
on.
later, but that was the push of jet propulsion and all of that. But yeah,
What I was saying though is that there've always been this idea of how can we control people, even from the fall.
oh, absolutely.
And this
Well,
is just
that's witchcraft.
Yeah.
it's
That's
just how do we control
manipulation.
them? How do
Yeah.
we manipulate them?
But
you know,
yeah, but again, like you see it like you know them by their fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You let people. We shouldn't be a part of because you got to have a collective. This is what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collective mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a hive mind in a way,
it's
right?
what it is, and that's what they want.
Yeah, it's a collective mind that you'll say this is what we're gonna do,
right?
And if you think about it, a wise man wins souls. You have to capture people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is it? What's the beginning of that? And it says that the fruit of righteousness is a tree of life. So it's about the context of that. Are we capturing people with the light of God?
Yeah.
Are we capturing people into darkness?
Mm.
And just like Nimrod was a mighty hunter
of men, or a hunter
before the Lord,
Yeah.
but he was hunting
Yeah.
men, and he captured men, right?
To build the tower.
Not in a
Yeah.
slave, not in a physical slavery,
In
but
a
a mental,
mental,
slavery where they become one, right?
Yeah.
And they built this tower, this thing.
They became so much of one that God said, I got to separate
Yeah.
this. He stepped in and said, I got to
He
squash
basically
this.
said they can do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
Because they're of one mind,
Mhm.
right? So that's what I'm pointing
Yeah.
to. Like,
So maybe maybe that is the spirit that they're listening to get back to that. Maybe that's where they're trying. Maybe that's what this is all leading to.
That's my point. Like,
Yeah.
and if we don't see and discern to be able to say no, we can't be a part of this.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm just pointing to the Industrial Revolution because you can see how people can look at the buildings and be like,
Yeah.
man, this is so wow,
Right.
look at all the stuff we got. But the stuff that the people that died,
Yeah.
right, to be able to look at this stuff and say, oh wow, look how great we are as a civilization.
Yeah.
At what cost?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, even just the pollution at the time.
Yeah.
I remember when I was reading stories about Nikola Tesla when he developed AC current, and the reason why Edison was trying to squash it so badly was because he was using DC current, which couldn't travel as far. The length of the current couldn't travel as far with the much strength, so you needed more transformers in
So
shorter distances. So cities were like filled with these transformers, and there was electric cables everywhere where like you couldn't even see the sunlight sometimes.
Yep.
So, but he knew that this was going to put him out of business. So, but that's what you're saying. It's like we were so busy in trying to industrialize everything. That we would do it to our own detriment. Yeah.
Whenever you focus on something, and who gives you that? See what
Yeah.
I mean? Somebody's giving you that. You got to understand what is their motivation.
Yeah.
You know, what are they doing that for? And this is how, because if you think about Nimrod, this is how the Antichrist comes into play. Like I know when we say that, it's like, woo,
Yeah,
you
'cause
know,
that's been so
But what I'm just trying to point to, like you said, is this where they're trying to push things? Is this- yes.
That's what
You
I
know what I
know
mean?
it is. Like that's the whole point of these philosophies. People that are really tapping into these ideas with no basis in God. The idea is to get us back to that mindset. Either even speaking about it, about how life and conflict and all these things are about a collective mindset. Because what it
Exactly.
is trying to get us back to a place where we're all of one mind to dethrone God, basically.
Yeah.
Like everyone is of that mind.
Yep. And what Marx did, he just made it more materialistic, right? And he made it more materialistic and deviant in terms of, because it's more flesh or like desirable, right? Oh, you got money? That's not fair. We
Yeah,
want it. How
right.
can we, right? So
Yeah.
he's looking at ways of bringing conflict in that way.
Yeah.
Like, so there's always ways that you can make it worse and worse and worse,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what we see from depravity to the point where it becomes you're straight like animals.
Yeah.
Right? So how do there's no way to combat this by ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what I want to, like, there's no way.
Yeah.
We have to trust a living God who is greater than us, can take more accountability than us, understands things, sees every in and every out, so that we are able to overcome these things.
Right. And
Or else,
I see more and more people turning to that. I see more and more. Like look at the move of a Russell Brand. Look at the move of like a Justin Bieber, like these people that were celebrities. Because I want to touch on this topic before we get out of here that James sent me about the hold that celebrities are finding out they don't have anymore. And then you see these celebrities that are like realizing that they were totally off base, and now they're being led to Christ. You know what I mean? There was a moment at the Golden Globes where Nikki Glaser, who is, everyone knows her from the roast stuff, she made a joke at the Golden Globes. I'm just going to try to play that part so they don't copyright strike us. Hopefully, it's a couple seconds long, where she basically makes that point to them.
Tonight, I want you to know that, and how could I, really? You're all so famous, so talented, so powerful. I mean, you could really do anything. I mean, except tell the country who to vote for, but it's okay. You'll get them next time, if there is one. I'm scared.
Yeah, so that was the joke. But what she's pointing out there is that celebrities are so used to being able to have that influence over the minds of the masses.
Thought they did.
No, they did before. They did. They did. But there's a shift happening now. People don't care what they have to say. I mean, there's a reason why every advertisement when we were kids was a celebrity telling you, I use such and such because it's the greatest thing. Now go out there and buy it, kids.
Speaking of that, real quick.
Yeah.
I heard that they banned you don't see the milk mustache anymore because it was disproven that it doesn't. This is what I heard. I don't know how true it is. That you don't see anybody celebrities doing the drink milk anymore because it was debunked that it doesn't do anything.
The milk doesn't really
it's not good
lead
for
to strong bones.
No.
Yeah. Well, definitely.
I don't know if it's
definitely not the milk that we drink.
Right.
I guarantee you, if you were drinking pure milk, it probably would have some benefits.
Right. But yeah, as you were saying,
but it definitely the calcium thing, the bone. Yeah, that's
vitamin D. They inject vitamin D into milk, don't they? Yeah.
But you were saying
Yeah.
The power. That's true.
Yeah. But so then you sent me this other clip of what was the other clip you sent me, bro?
It starts at 23 minute 23.
Minute 23.
It was the celebrities.
So I'll play the beginning of that clip first, and then we'll go to 23 because the beginning of that had a little intro that I liked.
$1 billion campaign, and some of the things they spent $15 million plus for celebrity event production.
We talked about this. Kamala Harris spent more money on celebrity showing up to her thing than...
It appears that the Kamala Harris campaign, despite raising over $1 billion, still ended up some $20 million or so in debt.
Just showing all the celebrities she tried to use.
The Harris campaign paid $1 million to Oprah Winfrey's productions company on October 15th.
They said Beyonce is coming to sing.
Did you see that shirt?
And she came, but she didn't sing.
Huh?
Did you see that shirt?
No, what's the shirt?
Go back a little bit.
Dance party with Beyonce.
A little bit past her. I mean, back past.
They said Beyonce is...
These celebrities.
The last shall be first.
What?
It's an inversion.
Who was wearing it?
The black guy. It's a black shirt.
The last shall be first.
Man, you caught that, man.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't even see that.
Paid $1 million to Oprah Winfrey's productions company on October 15th.
They said Beyonce is coming.
Beyonce.
And she...
Okay, now let's go to, what did you say, 30?
23.
I think I have it already queued up.
What's up, honey? This is your girl, Meg Thee Stallion, aka the Hot Girl Coach, reporting live with the future president of the United States.
Nope.
What do you have to say to the American people? We are not going back.
Wrong.
Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign leaned heavily on celebrity endorsements, much like past Democratic campaigns. But this approach repeated the same mistakes that have hindered the party's success since Hillary Clinton's 2016 loss. Instead of complementing her message, the over-reliance on celebrity support overshadowed essential policy discussions and raised questions about the party's true priorities. From the beginning, her campaign was dominated by high-profile celebrity endorsements with figures like George Clooney, Taylor Swift, and Beyonce lending their star power. Campaign events frequently feature performances from household names like Jon Bon Jovi and Lady Gaga. However, the constant presence of celebrities created the impression that the campaign was more of a Hollywood production than a political movement. This emphasis on spectacle played directly into Donald Trump's narrative of Democratic elitism and widened the cultural divide between the campaign and crucial swing state voters, who were more focused on economic concerns than on glamorous concerts or celebrity appearances. A notable example of this misstep occurred during a rally in Atlanta, where Megan Thee Stallion performed a 4-song set, including explicit tracks like Girls in the Hood and Savage.
By the way, the rally that they bust in homeless people for too. Yeah.
The performance energized some attendees, it sparked widespread criticism, and Donald Trump quickly seized the opportunity to mock Kamala Harris for relying on
Crazy Kamala Harris voted the worst vice president in American history. Needed a concert to bring people into Atlanta Arena, and they started leaving 5 minutes into her speech. I don't need concerts or entertainers. I just have to make America great again. This guy's hilarious.
Concerts to attract crowds, even dubbing her Crazy Kamala on social media. A similar issue arose during Harris's largest rally in Dallas, Texas, where Beyoncé's surprise appearance drew a massive crowd. But many attendees left after her speech and skipped Kamala Harris's address entirely. This moment highlighted the limits of relying on celebrity spectacles to sustain political momentum, as it became more about the celebrity performance than any political engagement or support for Harris's policies. The overinvestment in celebrity-driven events also had significant financial consequences for the campaign. In the final stretch of the election, the campaign organized concerts featuring artists like Christina Aguilera, Katy Perry, and 2 Chainz, reportedly costing up to $20 million. Many insiders criticized the decision to prioritize celebrity concerts over more traditional outreach methods like targeted advertisements or grassroots organizing. A particularly controversial event was the star-studded town hall hosted by Oprah Winfrey titled Unite for America. Although Oprah denied personally receiving payment, it was revealed that the Harris campaign paid $1 million to Oprah's production company for the event, which drew criticism for such a large expenditure. This raised further questions about the campaign's priorities, as voters in economically distressed areas felt neglected, while millions were spent on celebrity-driven events. It's also worth noting that with the political and cultural landscapes shifting dramatically, the power of celebrity endorsements has waned, especially in a climate where public trust in celebrities has been significantly eroded. In the post-Me Too era, scandals surrounding figures like Sean Diddy Combs have added to the perception that many celebrities are out of touch, or worse, embroiled in moral controversies. By relying on Obama's 2008 playbook, the Harris campaign failed to recognize how these cultural shifts influenced voter perceptions. For many Americans, the aspirational allure of celebrity has turned into skepticism, making celebrity endorsements less effective than they once were. In the end, the campaign's failure to adapt to the evolving political landscape, along with its misallocation of resources, played a significant role in its defeat. If the Democratic Party hopes to regain its footing in future elections, it will need to move beyond superficial celebrity support and refocus on addressing the issues that matter most to voters.
The point of the name of that podcast.
Call her daddy. Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds very feminist and very degenerate. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Or
That's it.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that because, like I said, you said it earlier. I think having a back-to-back Trump presidency wouldn't have exposed this as much as it needed to be exposed. And I think, a lot of people were upset and cried and were hurt that he didn't win. But I think there was a bigger plan.
Yeah.
And it's not this. It's not to get people to vote Republican or anything like that. It's to have people open their eyes. And I think this is a perfect example of that, where we see how tone deaf they were.
Yeah.
We see that essentially they just revised the Clinton playbook, Obama playbook, Clinton again. And then because we know Joe Biden was a sham.
Yeah.
But this was, they did not want to change at all.
Nope.
And we see they leaned into something. And I think what we're talking about is part of the podcast. What we're talking about here is people opening eyes and coming away from the things that they used to follow, especially things that led them down these dark parts.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of it right here. Is the hold of celebrity culture, the worship of other people. And I think this is what a lot of people woke up and saw. They could care less. No one was talking like this before they lose terrible. It's until they realize, wow, we lost terribly.
Yeah.
You know, and I personally think it's a good thing that people woke up from this and started seeing, all right.
I think so too. I think it shows, like I was saying earlier, I think it shows the shift in culture that we've been praying for and talking about for years now.
Right.
That needs to happen. You know, we need to continue to shift away from celebrity worship, from just praising degeneracy, thinking that chaos and selfishness and do what thou wilt is the path to happiness and enlightenment. We need to get away from that. And the like we were saying with this these people discussing Hegel, the ideas of these philosophers is to get us to that point where we're just completely have God dethroned in our societies and then in the world. And then, the ultimate agenda is to have everyone ready to build that tower again,
Well, they get you to start worshiping yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And then you slowly move into ideologies.
Right.
And that's what that is. Celebrity help with that. Buy my stuff, this is for you to make you look good.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start worshiping them.
You could be like me.
You could be like me.
Yep.
And it's like, this is what we're seeing. So I'm very happy. Like I said, we've been talking about this for a while. And like I said, you just mentioned it, there's a reason God has an ultimate plan. There's a reason why Trump didn't win. And I think it was what needed to be exposed was this hold that we thought was more powerful than it is, but it's really weak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really weak.
Yeah, but you don't. If you don't love people enough to see where the weaknesses are, you're never gonna see it.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean,
this is not to hate. Yeah, no, and that's why we're not doing it from the. We told y'all. See, no, this. We're hoping that people see and come out of this, and that we actually do come back to believing in God and putting this nation first.
Deception doesn't. Deception can only live in the dark, right? It can only thrive in the dark. So when you bring the light, it doesn't have a place anymore. But light is the love of God.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like when we want to be right, again, going back to being right, when we want to be right, we'll never get it because we want to be right. But when we look past being right to saying like, they're not, like when you tell somebody something, they don't even hear you a lot of times. So it's like, all right, how can I reach them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What can I say? See, now we have to challenge ourselves. We got to humble ourselves because we could just say, see, I told you, or we could say, but that doesn't.
I mean, it humbled me. I've learned over the years, even the way when I'm having a discussion with people, that the goal was for me to win.
Yeah.
Right? Because I wanted to prove to them that I was smart. Or I want to prove to them that I know what I'm talking about. So it once you take that away and you say, no, I want to hear you explain it. I don't understand. And you start really asking these questions through that, because they're also looking for a fight too.
Yep.
And it's maybe the change may not take place right then and there, because I think sometimes we want instant victory. And I think the change happens over time.
Yep.
And that's not up to you. That's up to God.
Yeah. I mean, love is the most powerful thing because it lasts longer than anything else.
Yeah. And I think the only way that happens, honestly, and this is not even, this is a human thing, is when you have children, here's something that you love and you get frustrated with, but you have to have patience to take them to the next step.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they push the lack of no children, focus on yourself, because they know that once you don't have that, those engineered biological thing that God made in us kick in once it happens. Not with everybody, I understand that, but it kicks in, right? Like even now, like with my son is potty training. Like you're getting frustrated because he can ask me for a snack, but he just can't say this.
Yeah.
But what do? I have to express love. And I think once all these things are switched off and you're focusing on your career, you're this, you're that, and you don't have this. And this is why I feel like they're pushing, don't get married, don't have kids, have fun.
Yeah.
Because those natural biomechanics that are in you, that God put in you, switch on once you have children and you're in a loving marriage and a relationship. It switches on. You're like, I have to be patient here.
And
I have to exercise control here.
Those children challenge your ego. They challenge.
It's a mini you.
But they challenge your ideas of who you are.
Yeah.
The things that you built up in your mind, the selfishness, all the things that you think, you have the right to feel and do and be. Having kids challenges all of that. And I think, like you said,
if you're willing to,
right.
If you want to really love them,
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you. I think that the push is to not give people that incentive or that motivation to do that, because then
first.
You're constantly thinking of yourself. There's nothing to challenge that. You're going to just continue down that path.
Right. It's even when men natural instinct is to conquer, but also to protect, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we say, hey, the thing with transgenderism is we know that you guys are championing this thing.
Yeah.
But we also know that they're predatory men who can easily work this to put themselves in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say this to women, they've been programmed to see that, oh, you guys are homophobic.
Yeah.
And we're saying, no, this is, we know the predatory nature of men.
Yeah.
Again, it's about love takes account, right, of all things.
Yeah.
That's what, when you say love bears all things, that's what it's about. It's about taking account. And you're not taking account when you're focused on certain things, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I say this with my kids, like when you guys come to me and you're saying, "Oh, Daddy, such and such did this," I always ask them like, "Well, what did you do, or what did you say?" Because 9 times out of 10, it wasn't just they did this to you; it's more to it. And I'm like, "Okay, well, are you thinking about yourself, or are you thinking about them also?"
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
So right there, no matter what they did, you made it about you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the breakdown is every time.
Yeah.
You didn't take account for everything. All you did was you were so focused on yourself and what they were doing to you that's where the problems are. That's why you guys are arguing. That's why you guys are fighting. Right. And every time you're selfish, you see how things happen in your life. My son, he just got burned on his leg by soup because I'm cooking. My wife is like, get away from the microwave. The youngest one, Lucas, and he was hungry, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, tries to take it out. It slips, spills on him because he wasn't listening, because he wasn't taking account. What did he want? He wanted what he wanted. The desire was, I'm hungry and I want my food. I'm waiting until it turns to 0 and I'm taking it out. Right?
He don't understand the thought process around it. Yeah.
And so he didn't think about all that. Right. So afterwards, I'm like, you see how one little thing can cause a whole bunch of problems, because now you got to deal with all this that you got, second degree burns. Yeah. You got to deal with this.
Because he grabbed the bowl. It's hot, probably.
Yeah, it's probably hot. And then it slipped. He dropped it.
Yeah. And it just slipped right out of his hand and fell all over him.
And then the opposite of you from doing that is this is the thing. We've had so many parents who were doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, it's not your fault.
Yeah. Right.
We need a better microwave.
Right. We need to invent microwaves that aren't going to burn children. So, matter of fact, we're suing this microwave company.
Right. So now capitalism comes into play. So some guy's like, I got it.
Yeah.
This microwave tells you. It talks to you.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but how much are you going to charge for this? I'll charge $5,000.
Yeah, right.
And there's somebody who is dumb enough to be like,
he pitches it, and they're going to use that story. Don't want this to happen. Ouch!
He can never walk again.
Mommy, it burns.
Your son is a loser. Buy this $5,000 microwave.
Yeah, but you're right.
Yeah, but a lot of times the issue is ourselves. Like we're selfish.
Yeah,
that's our nature.
Right.
Like fallen nature.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's why I think, like I said, the last point is, like I said, go back to this. I feel like this was strategically planned to disconnect you from the marriage experience and the child experience. Once you take that away, it's all about you. It's all about you.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I saw a video with a liberal old white lady in California physically assaulting a black woman because she wasn't going to vote for Kamala.
What?
Yes. I watched it. It was the weirdest. She actually physically assaulted her because she was wearing the hat.
Yeah.
And I mean, she was obviously antagonized. She didn't have to do that.
Right.
But she was making a point.
Yeah.
But the woman stopped her car, crossed the parking lot, and went to confront her. As a teacher for 40 years, this is an embarrassment. And she went off on her and physically assaulted her.
Did you see there was a video that went viral a few months ago of a white lady who, like, I
Went
think
to a neighbor's, right?
No. She was sitting next to people having a conversation, much like us
in a restaurant.
much like us on Christmas.
Yeah.
She was overhearing this black lady talk to her friends about why she wasn't voting for Kamala. She was voting for Trump, and she went nuts and like got in her face and was yelling at her like, what? And she was filming the whole thing. So she posted it, and this woman apparently was like connected. She was like she was a part of the government, and it was a whole scandal because she went crazy.
Yeah. And again, it's like, even if somebody's voting for, like, I'm talking to somebody and they're voting for Kamala.
Yeah.
My first, like, when they're telling me, my first thing isn't trying to tell them why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I want to know why they are.
Right.
I'm going to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Well, why are you? What are some, what do you think? Because then I got something to, okay, I can understand that. Because what do you watch? You know, like, you can understand it. It's understandable, right?
Yeah.
So I can have a little bit more, first of all, mercy for them, But what's the one, like we were talking about family, separate, trying to keep us from having families, getting married. What's the number one commandment that God?
Be fruitful and multiply.
That is the first command.
What's the number one commandment that Jesus left us with? Love one another.
Love
one another.
Love God.
Gets me.
Wasn't the first one? Wasn't the first one love God with all your heart?
Well, I'm talking about what he left us with.
Okay.
That's connected to Deuteronomy 6:4.
Okay.
Which he asked that question. But I'm talking about, what is the commandment that he left us with?
Yeah.
To love one another.
Right.
Love one another, yeah.
And
but James is right too. The first thing God, and I always say that's the first thing God ever told people to do. Like, the first command from God was to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And we choose not to do that.
But you know what's crazy about that, right? I was thinking about this, right? This is my last point. I was thinking about this. Think about the ancient world, what they would do.
Yeah.
See, to us, it feels like we have a choice because they tell us we have a choice. And because we can go around screaming at people, we think we have a choice. But I was watching this, and it was an old thing about the old ancient world in biblical times.
Okay.
And how they would take these boys and they would raise them. Now, families would sell them off because they needed men to protect the palace.
Right.
But they were like, these men might grow up to be and impregnate eunuchs.
Yeah.
Right? And then they were kidnapping these boys to do it. They would they would go around and they would take these boys and do it. So people were like, well, these people are gonna fight back. Let's make it an honorable thing. Let's make these eunuchs kind of like, you're honor guard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're there to protect the women. You're special.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, that's what did Jezebel have around her?
Right.
Right.
So think about that now. Today, what are these people? They're not physically eunuch. They're eunuchs mentally. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this.
Kind of physically too, because the T levels are really low.
But even the women too, because I've seen women, I would rip it out. I'd be like, whoa.
Right. There we go. We're back.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I think all these ideas, nothing new is under the sun. It's just recycled.
Yeah.
But we have to make you want to do it to yourself.
Yeah.
So we gave them the title of you're the honor guard. You're to protect the harem for the king over there.
Right.
And now it's like your job, your title, your PhD.
Right.
You know
You're
what I
doing
mean?
important work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's purpose.
Mm-hmm. False sense of purpose. That's what the dude from the CIA was talking about, right? You have to give people this sense of purpose to get them to do your will. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. We hit 11 o'clock. It's late. Thank you guys for sticking with us and watching. We got to a lot of things today. First stream of the year. Again, hit that like button and share this video if you care about. Had to ban somebody because they was getting on my nerves. But
that's what you were talking
yeah, that's
about.
what I was showing them on. Like, yo, I'm banning this guy.
Yeah,
He was on Facebook.
Yeah.
Same guy?
Same guy. That just goes in there and rants.
He's a bot.
Talking nonsense. But
Funny.
yeah. But anyway, we appreciate all of you guys that support and love us. Make sure you go to the Patreon, patreon.com/youngliontv. Hop on in there, become a member for as little as $3 a month. You can support what we do and spread the pride. Like I said, I hope that the Meta thing really goes on because those are our biggest platforms. Just hit 11K on the Instagram, and excited about that. We need to get the YouTube up, man. I don't know what to do, but we gotta get the YouTube up, and Rumble as well. But shout out to everybody who's been watching. Don't forget merch on our store, jatan.com/shop to get the merch, t-shirts, hats, everything, and the show January 25th. If you're in the Philadelphia area, come see us at City Winery, Philadelphia. We're doing our album release party, The Art of Breaking Through Shadows, and we're going to be giving away some stuff there as well. But yeah, appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. Make sure you like and share, comment, hit that notification bell, all that stuff. Follow us on Instagram, and our TikTok is banned, so we won't see you there. Peace.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight.